that too? Somebody opened a can. Pretty nice. What's up, Fire Fam? Welcome to the Live Fire. You already know what it is, Live Fire Friday. Let us know in the comments how your week has been. If this is the first time you're here, let me explain what you're about to get. You're going to get a former MP and a Green Beret giving you insightful analysis, some team room style humor, and a pretty amazing community of folks who are in the live chat right now. So welcome in. I promise you're not wasting your time because we are your official late night entertainment over here on Rumble. And if you're over on YouTube watching this, you're really not getting the whole show aside from the live chat over here on Rumble being way cooler. At the end, we do our no-knock breakdown, and you're going to get cut off because YouTube doesn't like cool things, right? So I promise it's better over here. Hope you can make it over. But hey, do us a favor, smack that follow button, give the video a thumbs up, and if you're feeling generous, hit that repost because it really helps us out over here on Rumble. We are I Came With Fire podcast. I'm your host, Brandon. I'm a veteran father and husband, and we are here to be a bridge in the divide, your source for objective truth and educated opinion. And reminder that this is a 360-degree two-way range, so if you walk on, be prepared to take some frag. Chris and I, and now Mike, will say whatever we actually think, whether it follows your party line or not. So don your helmet and your flak jacket because the range is now hot. And like I said, you guys see this beautiful man right here in the middle, Mike Calderese. We got him on tonight. He's been on the show a few times before. I know you guys enjoyed it last time. Mike, I heard you're getting snowed in over there, and I want to hear about it, but we got to let Chris disclaim himself real fast so we can jump right in.
What is up, guys? My name is Chris. I'm a future former Green Beret medic, but a current husband and a father, and I am legally required to do this struggle session in front of you every week. So let's just go ahead and do the thing. Yep, any and all opinions that you hear here on this podcast belong completely and totally to the hosts and the guests. They do not represent the United States Army, the Department of War, or any other entity within the United States government. We have been disclaimed.
Hell yeah.
We can now go.
Sweet, man. Mike, is your mic on?
I believe it is. Can you hear me now? Are we good?
Mic
Good?
check.
I can hear you. You guys should have seen him backstage. I won't tell anybody what was going on, but
it's interesting. I've been plagued from the start of my show. I've been plagued with technical issues. I could not upload videos to StreamYard today for whatever reason. I had to restart my computer twice. I'm level 1 tech support. I know to turn it off, turn it back on. That better fix everything. If it doesn't, I'm in trouble.
Tracks. It tracks.
Well, you definitely need to do that before they show up, because if you don't, that's the first thing they're going to do. And 99.8% of the time it'll work. And then you look like a dumbass.
Yeah, listen, man.
Yeah. So there we go.
You would be surprised how many times I've had phone calls with older folks who just put it over the phone, and I instruct them to do this, and they tell me they did do it, or they told me their computer is on, and I get there and it's unplugged. So if millennials have any use, it truly is helping out Gen X and boomers, and then Gen Z with most of their tech, because Gen Z knows what a phone is but doesn't know how it works, because we grew up blowing into Nintendo cartridges our entire
100%. So. And I'm passing the torch already, because I remember my dad getting a brand new DVD player, right, and then handing it to me, and I don't know the aux and the just plug it in and make it go, you know what I'm saying? And now I have to, I get a new app on my phone and I hand it to Carson and I'm like, make it do the thing. I don't know how this stupid thing works, dude.
Do math.
What was your favorite way to make your Nintendo work? Mine was putting the cartridge right at the edge of it and slamming it down.
Everybody.
Yeah. You got to get a full seat on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it, man. You kind of like press a little bit. It's like this is helping, right?
Yeah.
That's 100%. What it is. After blowing into it, because even though it said on the instructions not to do that, you had to do it. But
I don't know why.
Over it. You had to blow like this too.
Yeah, like a harmonica, and then you got to give it the little shake out too, real quick before you fully seat it.
Exactly. Yeah. My dad would sometimes take his scrunch up some jean material and then rub it across the metal bar to get some static friction going on there.
There you
that
go.
helps too, by the way. But we got to announce the sponsors real fast. Can't go on without those dudes. So first up, obviously, we have Honor Tribe Outdoors. Honor Tribe is another veteran-owned and operated business. They take vets, combat veterans, and Gold Star family members out for hunting and fishing trips. As you guys know, community is a really big deal for veterans, especially those Gold Star family members. So if you want to donate to an amazing cause, you can head over to their website through the show notes, or you can leave a Rumble rant in here. Just make sure you label it as Honor Tribe or HTO, something like that, and 100% of your donation will go right to the guys over at Honor Tribe. We've also got Kill Cliff Energy, which is one of my favorite go-to energy drinks. I prefer their Orange Crush CBD. Chris is on that cherry lime train. It's good stuff. That's right. And then certainly, but not last but not least, we've also got some pretty badass merch over there at redpillthreads.com/I came with fire. Getting some hats up there here pretty soon, you guys. 3 different styles. We got some fitted, we got some trucker style, and then like the flat bill snapbacks. So those will be up there pretty soon. With the
I'm really looking forward to that. Did we get them in the what we were talking about, where they got the red bill with the white, and then
that's the request. So it's if you guys look, you want to pull the website back up real fast, and we'll just explain a little bit. So this logo right there, the colored one, not the like black and white one you guys see on some of our other stuff, but it'll be a hat that looks like that. That's the logo on it, and then the bill itself is red. It's pretty cool, actually. So I'm gonna order probably a few when they get up on the website. But yeah, those will be there soon for you guys. We have a couple people ask about them, and we're gonna finally get those things up there. So okay, Mike, you are now free to talk about the snow. What the fuck is going on up there, dude?
Oh, do you want me to give my meteorologist
Mike's
analogist?
Meteorology minute?
And now to Mike with the weather.
So, it's funny because the Euro model early on in the week was predicting 44 inches for my area. So it was fucking, I'm not even playing around with this.
That's a lot.
So basically what's happening is you have a system that's coming through, and they don't really
22 dicks deep, dude.
So there's a system coming through, bro, and we don't know what it's going to be. Everyone's predicting at least 12 inches. But it's one of those storms where if it stays a little bit south, we're going to get hammered. We're going to get 18. What's funny? I don't know.
You're going to get pounded, you think?
Pounding. It's going to be all day Sunday, which is going to be nice, man. I plow in it, so I'll be in my Bobcat with a plow. I'll plow this shit out of these 12 inches.
Damn, man.
There you go. I love it.
And do you guys get a wet snow up there, right?
Depends. No, it depends, man. So that's the thing. Like they're talking about this possibly turning to rain. Freezing rain at some point. So, listen, it's been warm, but next week's going to be like in the teens. So there's something coming down. So that's what I'm saying. So if it pushes it down, we're gonna get fucking we could get 2 feet plus of snow.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna get above 12. That's what I think.
I always say this. I lived in Wisconsin for about like a year and a half. I lived right on Lake Superior in a town called Ashland. And then I was in Montana for almost 8 years. The type of snow is vastly different, right? Montana has that powder. And then in Wisconsin along the Great Lakes, they get that really, really wet snow. But it is like -40 in Montana feels different than it did in Wisconsin on Lake Superior. Like that is the definition of bone chilling cold. That wet snow is way worse than the dry, arid, cold air of Montana.
Well, you add humidity to anything and it makes it worse. It makes the hot hotter. It makes the cold feel colder. But I will say this, you guys are getting ready to like have the absolute worst of it, because if it turns to rain on you and then dumps down in the teens next week, that's going to make for a bad time. You're going to have a lot of
I don't think that's going to happen, no, man. So we get all different. We get in New Jersey, it's every different type of snow. This last snowstorm that came by, it was the lightest shit I've ever shoveled. It was like I was able to just run with the shovel, and it was light. This one, you're right. I think it's going to be a little bit. If it gets a little wetter, we're only going to get 12 inches. Put it that way. That's why, like I think we're going to get more. I think it's going to stay like a lot of snow, dude. You know what? You could smell it. You could smell the cold. I don't know if you guys can, but for whatever reason, I could smell snow in my area. I get outside and I get and dude, it's just for whatever reason, New Jersey's due for a whopper. We get 1 or 2 of these fucking things, like my area, like which is like Central Jersey. We get 1 or 2 of them every like 5, 6, 7 years, and we've been due for some snow. So listen, I get paid per hour riding my machine. So I hope it snows for 2.5 days straight. I don't give a fuck.
There you go.
Yeah. May you make some money then, Mike.
Yeah, there's always there's always somebody that's just like raking it in for it, dude. Yeah.
Let's go, bro. Let's go. Let it snow.
How's the show going, man? How's the Caltrop going?
Dude, Caltrop's going great. I love it, man. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know right after, it will be right after you guys. Before you guys, I guess, a couple hours before you guys go on. It's awesome. I love it. A lot of things are happening with it. The best thing that I'm doing, that I got going on right now, honestly, though, is the Brick Breakdown. Mm-hmm. It's my local kind of news outlet that I started. And it's really just asking my local politicians questions, and I'm trying to interview local people. Like, have you ever gotten a voting booth and just had no idea who the hell you were voting for locally? Like, you see names, you just have no idea who these people are.
Yeah, that's a relevant problem, man.
Pull out my phone and Google them really fast and look up their platforms and all that jazz. Yeah,
sure. And you have no idea. You don't know who they are from that, right? So I tried interviewing everybody that was running for office, and a lot of things came from him. And we actually made, when you do nationwide politics, it's like no one's listening. When you get into local politics, you can actually get things accomplished. And the Brick Breakdown thing has been awesome. So yeah, dude, it's been great, man. We actually, listen, I guess I can't expose too much, but we have a YouTuber coming to my area, Lakewood, New Jersey. I don't know if I've told you guys about Lakewood before. Mm-hmm. But a YouTuber's got 9 million subscribers, is doing a story about Lakewood, and he asked another buddy of mine to help, and that guy told him to get in touch with me, and he's coming to possibly do something in Lakewood, New Jersey. It's fucking badass. I'll let you guys know off it, but I don't want to say too much till it's done.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever you're hoping though pans out. I hope it pans out, dude.
Dude, it's my story. What's going on in Lakewood, New Jersey makes Minnesota look like it's fucking child's play, guys. Like, it's insane. People don't realize it. It's because it's a different community that you can't talk about. But it makes the fraud that goes on in Minnesota look like pennies.
Damn, dude. This seems like it's everywhere, though, doesn't it? I saw too that the state of California is suing Trump back for a lot of the things that they're about to do, and just. It's crazy, man. And so many people are like, yeah, get him back. We don't want to learn anything about the corruption going on. It doesn't exist. I work out here in California, and you cannot unconvince me that California is just not a money laundering regime for the DNC. I say that all the time.
I'll tell you guys something really quick. I don't want to hijack your show with this shit, but listen to this really fast. It's Town Lakewood. It's $115 million in debt as far as its municipal budget. Okay, it's borrowed that much money. It still owes some back, but it's paying a lot of money per year on it. Then it's they say between 172 and 252. It's hard to understand what the number is. I think it's 252. $252 million in school debt to the state. So much so to where the state just came in and took over. Now, the crazy part about it is the lawyer that used to be the school board lawyer left there, sued the school, and is now the school board lawyer again. Makes $6 million in the last 5 years. The state tried getting rid of him. Every time they get rid of him, they bring him back in. It's fucking crazy. Then you have all the private schools. It gets absolutely insane. But I did this one thing. I got a Freedom of Information request on the police force there. One cop, right? They do. It's like an overtime scam. So I told you all of that to tell you this. Their police budget is like $32 million, but they spend like $8 million on overtime. One cop, his base salary was $152,000. But after all the different overtimes, just one, because they have emergency off time that they get paid, then they have off duty pay, which is like road work. Then they have their actual overtime. Just overtime pay, the guy made $190,000. He walked home in 1 year with $386,000 as a traffic safety police officer in Lakewood, New Jersey. He made $312 the year before that. He made $309 the year before that. He did over $1 million in 3 years as a Lakewood police officer. And
wow.
And you're like, wait, but you're screaming that you're bankrupt. but you have $8 million worth of overtime. Bro. It's just
Is that
like
because they can't hire cops and they have to have these people working overtime?
You know what it is? You have to fucking really come down here to see it to believe it, man. There's a lot of building going on, but also there's like special events, and then every time they have a special event, you have cops because they have to be protected because they're dangerous where they get. So now they have a whole bunch of cops sitting around doing nothing, but it's a game, right? So it's like the chief's son made $318,000 last year. The chief is one of the highest paid in the state. The Asbury Park Press, a big prominent newspaper around me, does a story about how much does your police chief make. Lists all the different police chiefs, but leaves that Chief Meyer conveniently out of it. It's like, dude, it's like
I was thinking that too, Leo.
You can't fucking make this shit up. It's unbelievable, bro. And it's like when what people don't realize is there's no other groups on the planet besides like certain religious groups can live as segregated groups. They have their own police force. They have their own ambulance service, a couple different competing factions of each. It's like their own school system where they have more money in their Jewish school system than the public schools have in their system. They drain I could go on for an hour and a half about this. It's crazy. But sorry, dude, I didn't want to go crazy like that. Sorry, guys.
No, not at all, man. That's why we had you on to talk about whatever you had going on, dude.
That's what's going on. That's what's going on by me. So we're hopefully going to be exposing a lot of the corruption, and everyone's afraid. Everyone's fucking petrified to talk about it. Matter of fact, when I exposed the police story, when I put the thumbnail out, I had messages from, I don't know, 15, 20 different people saying, yo, I hope you're going to be okay. You better have protection. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, it's like, that's how crazy this is.
Was that a veiled threat, or was that somebody actually genuinely looking out for your well-being?
They were all people I know where it's like, yo, man, you're going to need to get your concealed carry permit and get cameras up in your house and all this other shit. I mean, it's like, why? All I did was read what was publicly available.
Right. Well, that's the problem. You're talking about it.
Uh-huh.
Well, I will say one of the things that happened in 2025 and is now rolling strong in 2026 is dudes like Nick Sorter, Nick Shirley, Hickey, like these dudes went out there and showed people with an iPhone and a microphone, like doing journalism is not beyond anybody on the street at any point. And now everybody's out there and they're doing it. And I'm happy to see it because the freaking elite political class fraudsters, like they should be petrified.
But that's the original way to do journalism, is that grassroots style stuff, right? Not
from full circle, like all the way back around where it's just
not the institutionalized pipeline where they propagandize to you and then indoctrinate you, and then you wind up working for the mainstream media, right? Like that. That's what real journalism is supposed to be. It's like supposed to be raw and unedited, right? For you to consume and make your own determination.
You know, credit where credit's due. If it wasn't for, I hate, because I'm not an Elon Musk sycophant, but thank God that, you know, like there is a platform where that stuff is going out there where everybody can see it too, without getting absolutely throttled. So we do have some tools at our disposal at this point.
Oh yeah. You ever hear Tyler Oliveira?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's gone like to Japan and got attacked by like street grifters and interesting shit. He's one of the dudes who he went and did a lot of the videos on New York. Same thing. Like he goes into the Somali population. He was doing these videos. He's been doing the videos for a really long time. Yeah. All those guys. It's great. But like you said, it's crazy that these kids, I got to tell you something, the balls on these YouTubers are amazing. They have way more balls than the journalists of today, because the journalists of today don't want to ruffle any feathers. These kids have no problem with ruffling any feathers.
Well, because they're not on the payroll.
No problem whatsoever. They got balls. I'll give them that.
Absolutely. No, I need to see more of that. And you know, you were kind of talking before about talking to local politicians, but there's all these guys we know, like we've been mentioning here, like Nick Sorter, Nick Shirley, Cam Higbee, all these guys, but there's got to be just at least hundreds of other people out in their state doing this sort of thing. They just haven't caught traction yet for whatever reason or another. So, I mean, you guys in the live chat spend time online too. If you know another independent journalist like that, drop a hand in here. We'd love to talk to him. And the more that you do, Mike, the more we'd love to hear about it and have you back on what you're exposing in New Jersey, because it doesn't matter that you're exposing in New Jersey if somebody lives in California or Ohio or Montana or Arkansas. Like, this is corruption going on in the United States, and that corruption is a pandemic, as it were, inside this country, or an epidemic inside this country. So
hey, Brandon, you know this, dude. Oh, sorry, go, brother.
I was just going to say the only thing that we got to stay on the lookout for now is because people are going to see that, like, oh man, like the algorithm's favoring that. People are going to start looking for it. You're going to start seeing the grifters and people that come in that are not going to vet their sources, right, that are going to be selectively editing stuff. So it's like we got to put on our glasses and make sure that we're vetting all the stuff that we see come through. But still, I would rather have more information and parse through it than for the mainstream media to still have all the control. I would still rather it be the Wild West as far as information.
Remember too, I don't even remember his freaking name, but that really just goody two shoes looking dude that came out right after Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and they just tried to make him a thing. Remember, like it was like the mainstream media tried to basically supplant and replace him there. Yeah. I'm glad that so to your point, the crowd, as it were, was sort of like, fuck that. No, we're not, this is not going to happen. Right. This is like, feminized version dude with the boat shoes and the fucking short khaki shorts on. His dad looks like a lawyer. All this, like, no, we're good, dude.
That's what it was, dude. It was the Diet Coke of like, that's exactly what they tried to do.
He was an approved replacement is all I'm getting at. Is like, and even then, the more that stuff happens, like, you're right, there's going to be like the grassroots grifters, but there's also going to be the plants as well, kind of like that guy, whatever his fucking name was, that are going to come in and they're going to look grassroots, but in reality they are some sort of plant. And that one of the ways to tell if somebody is like that or not is kind of how the algorithm picks them up and how they seem all over the place all of a sudden. So, but then that again is not necessarily a foolproof way of trying to figure those things out. So, but anyway, well, kids, tonight we're going to talk about Davos. Davos, world leaders heading over to Switzerland. If I can say myself, it's pretty gorgeous that time of year. I've spent a lot of time in Switzerland in January's, ironically, in my life. But what happened over the week was pretty interesting, to say the least. Of course, there was the typical World Bank WEF socialism rhetoric push about globalization and peace and global stability, etc. But this first video, Mike, I'm going to let you have the floor first after we talk about it, since you're the guest. But this one is Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney doing his best Mr. Rogers impression. So let's check this one out.
Values of inclusivity, fairness, solidarity, sustainability, and ambition. Canadians are inclusive. We know our country is stronger when everyone belongs, when newcomers are welcome, when minorities are protected, when Indigenous peoples are true partners.
I just realized his mouth is crooked as shit.
That commitment to inclusion was institutionalized, first in the Bill of Rights and then embedded in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It was manifest in our adoption of multiculturalism, first as policy and then as law. In the same spirit, the enshrinement into law of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples reflects our fundamental commitment to reconciliation and to respecting Indigenous peoples as equal partners in building our country.
Floor is yours first, Mike. I got a lot of thoughts on this one, to be honest.
So I could go on forever about this guy, man. So let's just start here, because he said something the other day that wasn't in this video, where he actually said we are taking the steps towards the new world order. It was kind of like he was talking in the WWE, you know what I'm saying? And I thought he was going to hit somebody with the fucking little
very
sweet chin music.
You, Mark Carney.
Yeah.
Yeah, cue the music.
But I mean, what is this guy saying? Multiculturalism has been an abject failure. It doesn't work. We see it doesn't work. You take the college kids today, go to a Southern college, go to Alabama. Like I visited one of my good buddy's sons, and we went out to see a Alabama football game. You see segregation right now, live and in color, right? You see white kids hanging out with white kids, black kids hanging out with black kids. Somehow the Jersey kids always find the Jersey kids. Somehow they just cling. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we all kind of find each other, right? But you see what I'm saying? You see the kind of separation today. Once again, yeah, exactly. It's natural. So multiculturalism is not what I think that's clearly failed. And these guys are, it's something I loved about what Trump said in Davos. He said, all of you, what you're doing is stupid. You don't get what you're doing is stupid. What we're doing is right. You need to follow us. And I love the one part where he looked at Mark and said, "Hey, Mark, you're an ungrateful piece of shit. You better remember that we
We
protect
have
you
that
for
clip
nothing."
coming up. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
It's true. Well, I'm glad you brought up the multiculturalism piece, but the first thing that stuck out to me is, first off, Mark Carney has done a lot of speeches lately, aside from his little trip to China, but he's made a lot of speeches. And if you listen to the language in these speeches, it sounds almost American, right? You notice that he mentions manifest, and he's talking about their Canadian Bill of Rights, all these things, sort of the way that an American politician would talk about, our wonderful history, okay, about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and manifest destiny, all of these things. So it's weird because it's almost a nationalist way of speaking about Canada, which is not very typical of some of the past prime ministers. But it is spliced in with all of this woke ideology as well. Like you said, there's this mention of minorities and then indigenous peoples, and that speech is coming up from a position of an oppressor, right, on the oppressed. And we're working with the UN Charter, right? So there's these subtle hints at globalism, which is, of course, what Mark Carney's ultimate goal is. The dude is a World Bank financier and has a massive history of finance around the world. But that's what these subtle nods are to. But it's the same playbook. And the vehicle now is this almost nationalist style language, which is an interesting way of going about it. I would say, because not even Democrat American politicians tend to talk this way, because they shy away from American history and mentioning a lot of these buzzwords like the Constitution, unless it's like politically convenient, right? Oh, the Constitution says this, even though that's, they don't really believe in it in the first place, but it gets used as this like political vehicle. But he's speaking about it in almost a romanticized way. And it's like he's trying to inspire a specific type of patriotism in the Canadian people, but it's all espoused to this like postmodernist, Marxist oppressed way of thinking about things, this globalist idea, the UN Charter, and he's there talking about the New World Order, and who does the WEF prefer? Who does the World Bank prefer on the global stage? Well, it's the Chinese, right? So it's no shock, and it shouldn't be a shock, especially to people who are listening and have listened to the show for a while, but especially people who are paying attention, that this was inevitably the direction that Mark Carney was going to take Canada in, and we're just seeing it, to use his word, manifest.
I really think that you're onto something there, and it almost seems like he's trying to step up and fill the void of what America was supposed to be under a second Biden term. You know what I mean? And using all of
That's
that,
a really good way to put that.
And trying, because he is trying to tap into that almost like nationalistic sense, but if America is going to move more nationalist and more populist, then it's almost like he's trying to fill that void and be like, well, Canada will be China's, woke neo-Marxist ally in the West, and we will step up and try to fill that role that America is moving away from. And I do see that in the ideological language that he's starting to use, not just his business moves, and not just in him trying to move all those Chinese EVs over and all that stuff he's doing, but also in the way that he's trying to present himself. And I think you're really on something there that I haven't heard anybody else talk about.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's so funny too, because you can tell there's a lot of congruency between what Mark Carney is talking about lately, especially over the past 2 weeks, and then this relationship and the work together with China. It's completely and totally coordinated, is the point I'm trying to make here. And they consider this as well, right? So the Canadian government makes this announcement that they're going to start shifting priorities towards the Chinese. Like you said, Mike, he makes this whole speak in Beijing about shifting towards, and he says it very dramatically too. If you watch him speak, the new world order, and it's like a veiled shot across the bow at the United States. Basically, it's Mark Carney acknowledging saying right that China is now the leader of the new world order, which is more of an insult than actual reality, obviously, right? But This is totally coordinated. And the interesting thing is that if you look at who needs who on the grand scheme of things and in the relationship that the CCP is going to have with the Canadian government, the CCP doesn't see the Canadian government as equal. They're not going to be co-equal partners at all. The CCP sees Canada essentially as an opportunity, and I guarantee they're viewing them as a subordinate government. And that's what Mark Carney is basically sliding into that role and accepting it completely. And then, basically telling the Canadian people, like, this is your reality now. And Canadians, and you guys have said this in the chat too, there's several Canadians that hang out in here, that you guys have seen this coming for a long time in your country. And some of the more conservative content I see online as well from Canadians is you guys are, canary in the coal mine about this stuff. But at the end of the day, right, this is a coordinated, I guess you could say, attack at undermining American hegemony, and then also the relationship that the United States has with Canada. And we'll kind of break down later. There's some other videos I'd like to talk about the economic ties that Canada and the United States has, and the feasibility of some of these relationships decoupling. But this speech I felt like was a good way to start this off, because like we were talking about, Chris, and you, Mike, with this New World Order talk, this almost nationalist but woke at the same time conversation he's having. I thought that your point about this is what a second term of Joe Biden would have looked like is really prescient, because it is more of this leaning into of a nationalist, patriotic populism, if you want to call it that. And remember what the Democrats were trying to do near the end of the election cycle? They were trying to take back the American flag. Do you remember that? And nobody bought it, because everybody just can see very blatantly obvious that a lot of Democrats don't actually care about any of the symbols of the United States or the history or anything like that. It became politically convenient for the time. And so you saw, and I remember even sending you pictures, Chris, when I would go out on rucks there. I live in California, right? So if anybody doesn't know, I live around a bunch of liberals, and I would see all these Kamala Harris, things in the ground, and then American flags where I'd never seen American flags before. It's just like, I don't buy it.
Yeah, but just as quick as they pulled them out, right? They flipped the script again.
Exactly.
because we saw that video come out just either a week or 2 weeks ago, where that kid was, or I don't know if he was a kid, but he was like literally driven out down a street, and they're beating him and berating him until he takes off a shirt that was stylized with the American flag. So just as fast as they pull the flags out, they throw them on the ground and burn them as soon as they're done with them. I don't know why anybody would take them seriously, but go ahead, Mike.
There's something to that Joe Biden comparison, because
I agree.
He's clearly positioning himself as the anti-Trump, right? As the old school politician, the statesman, the New World Order guy. He's the one that's trying to keep globalism apart, together, right? He's the new face of that. And what did you see at Davos? Again, you had Trump basically saying, "Hey, hey, take this for your globalism and go fuck. We're doing this." You had Scott Bessent saying the exact same thing. Then you had Howard Lutnick going, "Listen, guys, we're here to say one simple, clear message. We're going to be about America, America's workers. We don't care about your workers. We don't give a shit about you people. We want to be about us. And if you're going to make money, you're going to make money along the way." And I love the overall attitude that they have, because, listen, the globalist agenda has failed. And that's one thing that Trump made very, very, very clear to Davos, that the globalist agenda has completely fucking failed. And what he's trying to do is, people like him, Mark Carney, are the face of the globalist agenda. That this is the best they have. They had to install him over Paul Olivier or however. They had to install him because that guy started going at Trump for no reason at the end of his campaign. He was going to help him. Dude. He screwed himself. So.
No, absolutely, dude. We bring that up a lot. How much Pierre Poilievre, whatever you say his name, he really ruined it. Because at the end of the day, Trump will let you disagree with him, right? He's not this person completely that he's painted as this person that you need to completely agree with at all times. He's gonna say shit about it, but you can see in the long run that people who disagree with him or don't necessarily go along with everything he says, as long as you're willing to play ball and in a way that is mutually beneficial to everybody, right, then this sort of thing is okay. But like you said, Mike, he went really hardline immediately with the jokes about the 51st state thing, and essentially made it easy for Mark Carney to have a platform and run, and then he did exactly what he did here. But this next video, whatever you got queued up, Chris, I'm not sure.
This is
one of the next ones.
Yeah, this is a Howard Lutnick. So you had a pretty good segue to it just a little bit ago, in that you can see the way that Mark Carney is presenting himself. But to your point, Mike, about what Trump and the Commerce Secretary were saying back about it, is this not going to be the way that it goes down. And here's Howard Lutnick talking about it.
And Canada is just thinking in this arrogant kind of thought.
Well, but just to build on what John is talking about, it's a style question. Can you get the same results without using words like calling leaders weak or their economies decaying, right? Is it necessary to provoke the visceral
Obviously not, because we had decades of that type of diplomacy.
A lot of leaders here and in conversations with international investors. I mean, is there any other way? Is that style more harmful than it is helpful?
Well, I think it creates listening. Like, people pay attention to it and listen to it. If you just sort of blend in, no one hears anything in Davos, right? Everybody says the same blah, 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 blah. And if you need to break out and you need to say it. So my view is, right, that Canada has never expressed to the world that they have the best deal, the second best deal in the world. The best deal in the world is Mexico, because remember, they have USMCA.
He's even starting to sound like Trump. You notice that?
85% of the Canadian economy comes into the United States for
Been hanging out with the president.
And there he is complaining that he's going to go to China and improve it. What's he going to do? China's delighted to sell to him. But do you think China's going to open their economy to accept exports from Canada? This is the silliest thing I've ever seen. They have the second best deal because Mexico's got a little better deal. They have 25% on the extra 15%, whereas Canada's got 35% on the extra 15%. But give me a break. They have the second best deal in the world. And all I got to do is listen to this guy whine and complain?
Mr. Secretary, in fairness, you've seen from the airplanes, you've seen about a 30% decline in Canadian visitors to the United States, if not significantly more. You've seen a similar type of decline. From China, European travelers inbound have come down. There is a sense that people do not want to come to the culture of the U.S., and there is this anger about it. And I just wonder if you think that that's just temporary, or you just sort of dismiss that, or you think it's irrelevant to the actual issues.
I think what that is political marketing. Right? The Canadians have the second best deal in the whole wide world. If they continue this path, right, which is a political path of a certain thing. I'm going to go fly to China. I'm going to open up my markets to China. I'm going to take Chinese electric cars and do all sorts of this stuff. Then when USMCA gets renegotiated
this year,
sort of like towards the end of the summer, in the middle of the summer, do you think the President of the United States is going to say, you should keep having the second best deal in the world? I mean, you guys are such great friends. I mean, they are playing with a set of rules that they haven't really thought
I can
through.
hear it in your voice.
Well, that gentleman that started speaking, I can hear it in your voice. You sound rather excited about this, the possibility of this. It's like, yes, you're right, because this is kind of a stupid political stunt going on here right now. It's like Mark Carney didn't even realize that meeting, that joint review of the USMCA was going to happen. But Mike, you're the guest, brother. Your thoughts on the video up front, man.
You know, I don't know if I have the particular style that they would appreciate.
Right.
You know, in order to answer this question, right, Muffy? Right, Muffy? And it's funny how that's always the first thing. It's like, oh, could Trump have had a different style? What, when he was making fun of Macron, doing the Macron voice? Oh, no, Donald, please don't raise tariffs on me. He's doing this to the guy's face. Right? It's like, oh, it was his style and tone okay. Yeah, right? And I love what Lutnick said there, man. He's like, listen, you know, you get attention when you're bombastic like Trump is, because that's what you're talking about. And you know what?
Yeah.
Trump walked out of there like a conquering hero with Greenland and a possible fucking Arctic deal, and I bet that's going to happen. He looked great, if you ask me, on the world stage. But yeah, I just love these people. I love how offended everybody is over a guy just telling you what's on his mind, man. And everyone plays pretend like they want to hear it. But when you say it, oh my God, did you just say that to me? Yes, motherfucker, you wanted it.
Well,
Sorry.
that was the playbook. If you listen to what she was doing, first it was the mention of his tone and his language, right? How he was speaking, not what he was speaking about. So not actually talking about the thing at hand. And then her next point was tourism, right? As if that has anything to do with what is actually being discussed here at the WEF. So I listened to him and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to actually check up on some of the things he says because I want to know, right? Because sometimes people exaggerate when they make points, especially in an environment like that, right? Maybe some emotions are high. So 77, this is a fact right here. So he's not wrong. He wasn't wrong at all. He said 75%, but it's 77% of all Canadian exports go to the United States, and 80% plus of the exports from Mexico come to the United States, right? The tone policing and all that stuff aside, I think he handled it really well because he didn't, bait into what she was doing because she was dodging the actual conversation and she sort of like ad hominem attacked him as like a representative of the United States with like his tone and then like tourism and all these things. But like I said, Lutnick's right. The biggest customer that Canada has with exports is the United States. They get preferential access, all these things. The UMCA, what is it? USMCA. It does. 1 July 2026, under Article 34.7, they're going to do a joint review of this. Okay. And so Mark Carney either thinks that he's actually going to leverage the United States into a corner, or he's trying to trigger some sort of global narrative shift like we were talking about before. And he's 100% doing it with the backing of the Chinese at the same time. So that's sort of the real leverage play for him here too. So, but I looked up Canadian exports in the United States and what this like relationship here looks like, what we'd be losing, they'd be losing, all of these things at the end of the day, because you can't take one trading partner and swap it for another as if they are, completely and totally the same. There's going to be some restructuring on what that looks like. So Mark Carney's not dumb. He's just stupid. I'll put it that way, right? So what could Mark Carney really do, and what would really hurt the United States when you hear this? So what does Canadian trade and U.S. trade look like in a meaningful way? So the biggest thing the United States gets from Canada is something called potash, and potash is a fertilizer, and the United States is a 93% net import reliant on Canadian potash, and we get almost 80% of our potash from Canada. So that's a lot. But there's also
I feel like just with what we have in Washington alone, we can make enough potash, if you know what I'm saying.
Potentially, especially when you consider, the entire West Coast, but there's womp womp. Nickel is another one. So nickel goes in things like EV batteries, and then super alloys, which are metals that we use mostly for like defense tech. But the United States is a 40% net importer of its nickel, and 46% of that comes from Canada. And then there's a Michigan nickel mine that sends nickel concentrate to Canada to be processed. So it's also like a supply chain unit as well here. So it's not just like the actual export, it's like an actual refining of it too. Then there's cobalt, which the United States uses again for super alloys for like defense tech and some batteries. We're a 76% net importer of that, and Canada provides just about 13%. And they also do some refining for us for cobalt. Natural graphite as well. America is a 100% net importer of natural graphite. I didn't know that, but Canada only provides about 13% of it. Then there's copper, which the United States takes about 99% from Canada in an unrefined format, and then 17% in a refined copper format. But the other two, these are the more important ones the way I see this, right? Because they're more niche. We're talking about rare earths. And I like Trump's line at the WEF where he said that there's no such things as rare earth. There's just rare earth processing. And that actually is a really, really good point, because that is one of the United States' biggest hurdles is the refining piece of that. And we're fixing these problems for sure. But the first rare earth that we get from Canada is something called cesium, which is used in atomic clocks, which is used in like GPS and then like advanced communication systems. But the United States is 100% net import reliant on for all of its cesium. And if you go and look at the United States Geological Survey, which is where I got all this data, you'll see that there's not an actual percentage of cesium that we get from Canada, but the last one is vanadium. And vanadium is used to strengthen it, like make high strength steels, and then for like energy storage tech as well. But we import 30% of that from Canada, and then we import 48% of something called ferro vanadium, and ferro meaning like iron. It really begs the question, Chris, like what do you think? Let me ask you this, that the Chinese would really want from Canada if there were things that they were going to actually ask for in a meaningful way?
Access to the United States. That is fully what I think. That is what I think the Chinese are really vying for, is access to the United States through a porous northern border, because I think that they're looking at all the same data that you're looking at, and knowing that the United States isn't going to obviously shut down trade with Canada by any means. We might start charging them more for it, but we are a consumer economy, and we're not going to turn off that consumerism anytime in the near future, right? We talk all the time about reindustrialization of America and moving that manufacturing capability back home. And we need to, some sectors more than others, 100%. But when I think about what China really wants out of the Canadians, it's access to the United States. They want to continue to flood us with all the stuff that they have been able to do. So, fentanyl precursors and all that stuff that's been coming up through Mexico and down through Canada, like we've talked about before. And if they can put Canada under their thumb, and especially Mark Carney, anything that they could sell there, all the better. But access to the United States, that's what I see.
Right.
I just think they want to sell more product. I mean, they need they need the ratios to come back to normal. Because what has Trump done? Trump's trying to get away from China, right? You listen to what Howard Lutnick has been saying and Trump has been saying. It's like, we cannot be reliant on other countries for things that are vital of importance to America. We have to be able to process these things at home. We have to be able to have control over those type of supply lines. And when you look at what some of the trade deals have done, they have taken some of the market share away from China. So, when you look at these big companies, what does China want? China wants market share. What's the total thing of these being sold? Okay, we want this amount to be sold. They have to have this for their workforce, right? And then China's got a real problem coming up with how they're going all robotics versus, what are they going to do? Who's going to build shit? Like it's going to be very interesting to watch the new world kind of, I guess, take place. But that's what I think. I think they're trying to maintain market share, and they see another area where they can dump their cheap product into Canada, and Canada wants cheap shit.
Well, they certainly want the Chinese EVs, which is one of those points that I know Elon has been talking about for a while. I think that you're onto something as well with the whole New World Order thing that you were speaking about. I think that was one of Joe Biden's goals, again, to your point, Chris, was to sort of, I guess you could say, like, take the United States down a few notches so it was easier to usher in this like multipolar world with Chinese conditions because of their relationship with the World Bank and the WEF. I just want to say real fast, Ratchet, I actually know the answer to this question, and I will come back to you about the Japanese Prime Minister and dissolving their lower house of parliament. And I'll talk to you about it after we're done with this. So I saw that question, and I will get to you on this. But I looked it up. What the Chinese? This is going to be really funny, actually. So begging the question, if we're talking about Canada and the United States, what does China want from Canada? And the thing that Canada needs the Chinese to take from them is canola oil. Which is exactly what you're thinking of. It's literally for Chinese food. And then also animal feed. They use a lot of canola oil for that too. But the other thing, though, is Canadian crude. And if you remember, when we were talking about Venezuelan crude a few weeks ago with the whole Nicolas Maduro thing, I explained in depth that Venezuelan crude is called sour, right? There's both sour and then sweet crude. Like Arabian crude is sweet. The Venezuelan crudes, like Mexican Maya crude, Canadian crude, it's all sour. So it's harder to refine, right? But the United States actually has a Gulf Coast infrastructure for refining this. It's literally made for tough crudes that exist on this side of the world. But Canada's crude export system was literally designed with the United States in mind. Okay. And that's matters a lot because you're not going to just start rebuilding a bunch of pipelines and restructuring all of the logistics and stuff for this. So like pipelines, refining capability, all of that stuff. But for reference, the United States gets 4 million barrels of crude from Canada every single day for processing. And the only place that China has that can absorb and refine sour crude at any meaningful rate is a place called TMX. But they can only process roughly 890,000 barrels a day, whereas, of course, the United States is processing millions and millions of barrels a day, right? And then the only other thing that the United States that the Canadians could offer, which we kind of just talked about, is like minerals. But China has much of the like downstream capability that we were talking about too. So the refining and the smelting of a lot of these things. But to your point, Mike, about market share also is coupled with market stability. And if you're looking at both the American and Chinese markets, I would say that the Chinese market, and disagree with me if you guys do, but the Chinese market is one that's more conditional. And when I say conditional, I mean that it is more prone to volatility versus what the United States can offer when it comes to stability in market and flux and things like that, and then buying power and things like this, right? So and then you look too what China buys versus what America buys. These are again two different things. But and then to sort of sum this whole thing up here, it's almost like this behavior doesn't jive with the fact that Mark Carney does have to participate in the USMCA 1 July meeting about the joint review and potential restructuring of this agreement. And then we have a Canadian here in the chat, which I appreciate. Don't forget the CANDU power plants, which are being built by China. Built in China by Canadians, which is embarrassing. Yeah. This relationship that you guys have with the Chinese is really unfortunate because it certainly is taking your country, both of your countries, down this road of globalism, which is really unfortunate. In Knights of the Storm, forgive me, brother, I'm pretty sure from past shows that I know that you are Canadian. Correct me if I'm wrong. Says lion batteries might be outdated overnight. We get most of the bauxite from South America, so a power shift could happen. Yeah, the world is, I think what you're seeing here, and you guys tell me too, like, again, if you agree or disagree, is there's a lot of flux going on in the world because a lot of the WEF agenda and this, these, the multiculturalism, like Mark Carney was talking about, and these things that Trump was talking about with the taking on of, third world countries and exporting labor and all of this stuff has been really bad. And this is all part of that agenda that they have to bring the world up to like the same level and all this other crap. Is you're seeing like the United States finally walking away from that, right? After 4 years of Joe Biden, and you're seeing a lot of this shakeup going on. A lot of other countries and a lot of these organizations are feeling a certain type of way about it. But this is that flux we're all noticing. Is a total shift and pull. There's two entities pulling in opposite directions. The WF, the World Bank, the CCP, and the United States and some of our other allies moving in the opposite direction. The United States is really is kind of grabbing the ship and turning it around really, really hard. And that's why you're feeling, you feel that shift that's really hard. A lot of things go flying really, 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 really quickly, and we'll see how it all plays out. But I was wrong. Knights of the Storm is out there at Fort Leonard Wood. So not even right smack dab in the middle of the United States. So forgive me.
You got to love that. I think that you're absolutely correct. I think that the trajectory of globalism before now was meant to see the power shift move from the West back to the East. And the globalists were all praising China for its surveillance state and the way that it can, it controls its markets, and the CCP owns everything. And that was, they were the model on which they wanted to build the rest of the world. And so everything was moving toward a world that was going to be more China centric. And now that the United States is pulling away from that and heading back toward nationalism and populism, and this multipolar world is coming up, you're seeing Canada try to move into that void to like, they're still placing their bet on that other horse. And they're saying, well, if the United States isn't going to be number 2 in the New World Order, then Canada will move in and fill that position. Right. And I think that you're absolutely correct. I think that's the bet that they're trying to make.
It's like to use a really old school reference, sliding Canada in there is sort of a like water for chocolate thing too. Anyway, so they're sliding in. They're almost like this placeholder for a Western country, that isn't going to be as effective as the United States. But I'll say this too, right? Like the from the other direction, there are things to worry about. right? And consider, the like labor
Absolutely.
force in China, the way that they're able to build things, even if they are substandard to a lot of things that are produced in the United States, the rate at which they're able to produce industrially, mechanically, all of these things, these are massive problems the United States has to deal with and has to overcome. But anyway, unless you guys have something else,
did you notice something though? I mean, if you guys focus on what Trump's doing, and I hope people understand really the gravity of this, I think Trump is restructuring the world. Does everybody understand that? Like, I think when he's going to be talked about 100 years from now, and you're going to watch the world shift on what Trump is doing right now. That Davos speech, I think is one of the most powerful things I've ever seen, right? Because like, he's focused overseas while he knows that Congress, the Republicans, the Democrats, he can't get anything done at home. So what is he doing? He's setting America up to be perfectly positioned overseas. All these trade deals. That's why the globalists are trying to sue him in court to stop the tariffs from taking place, to be able to gut him from everything he's trying to do. But he knows what he can control, and that's what Trump is attacking. Trump's going after the things that he can 100% control, and that's all these overseas deals. That's why you see him meddling more there than it seems like he's in America. Because in America, you have all the garbage, the layers. And it's funny. I don't know if you guys caught this, but when he was being questioned about what was it? I don't know if this was in the Davos speech. This was the Davos speech. He said something about how when our troops came down there, all of their missiles, everything got discombobulated. They weren't able to fire a shot at us. Mm-hmm. One missile went up about 30 feet and landed right next to those people. And he said that was Russian and Chinese technology. I guess it is. They got to go back to the drawing board. And it was just funny listening to him say that stuff. But if you think about it, man, he has taken the whole world and he's going like this with it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I love watching him on the world stage.
It was necessary.
Yes.
I'll put it that way.
Super necessary.
Right. The last 4 years of Democratic leadership under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, I'm convinced they were not doing anything here at home other than causing chaos and keeping people upset, and then working towards the globalist agenda, right? And unraveling much of the United States' soft and hard power around the world economically. And while the United States maintains much of that power now, it's like kind of like, if we had another 4 years of that, this would be even harder to try and undo, whether possible or impossible. But this is necessary. I agree with you, Mike. He's taking it by its ear and flipping it around. I do want to jump back to Ratchet's question right here. She asked about the Japanese prime minister. She says, thoughts on Japan's PM dissolving the lower house of parliament. So actually, this has been painted again as like this like nationalist fascist sort of thing I've seen in some of the media. But if you go and actually read the articles, and you see that this is actually a function of the Japanese constitution, that the prime minister has the ability constitutionally to dissolve the lower houses of parliament. And if you read that, she basically has an intended goal of trying to reset of the political balance. And it's politically motivated. We can say that on its face, right? It is constitutional, but it's politically motivated to rebalance the political weights, right, with the Japanese parties or whatever you want to call them, to try and see what happens, essentially to give the Japanese people the opportunity to maybe restructure what a lot of their political leadership looks like in the lower house of parliament. So my thoughts on it are that she knows what she's doing. What she's doing is constitutional within the Japanese constitution. It's within her right to dissolve the lower parliament. And like I said, it is politically motivated. But at the end of the day, when I look at what she's doing and the relationship she has in the United States, and really, like, at the end of the day, the Japanese have been a wonderful partner to the United States. I support the things that she's doing and trying to shift or rebalance a lot of that political, whatever you want to call it, infrastructure, I guess, that's going on in Japan would be my take on that, Ratchet. So
100%. Thanks for the question, Ratchet. And also for anybody that's new out there, if you want to hijack this conversation or make sure that we see questions that you have put in there, any Rumble Rant all the way down to $1 automatically is going to get pulled up on screen, and you can inject your thoughts or steer the conversation as it goes. I do like what you were saying earlier, Brandon, about the Biden administration. And I think, hindsight being 2020, you can look back on it. And I know a lot of us were saying at the time that it just feels like the United States all of a sudden started hurtling at breakneck speeds toward a globalist agenda. And I honestly do think now, looking back on it, that they knew that they were not going to get a Biden 2. I think everybody behind closed doors, it was the most open secret in the United States that Biden wasn't even running the country. I said it 1,000 times over those 4 years that the reason it feels like the country's running in 50 different directions is because all the cabinet secretaries are doing their own damn thing. I think he held like less than 10 cabinet meetings in the 4 years that he was even there or something like that.
Insane.
You guys can check me on that, but I know they would go months and months in between. And so honestly, I think them knowing that behind closed doors, the president was, had dementia and wasn't at the helm. The idea was break as much shit as we can, as fast as we possibly can in 4 years. It was a fire sale. And that's why the country felt like it all of a sudden just got put on a rocket ship to hell. And we were just like, what is going on around us right now?
Dude, it was like a scene in one of these like spy movies where the driver of the vehicle gets shot in the back of the head by somebody in the back seat, and the car just starts going all over the highway.
Dead driver.
Exactly what it felt like. Yeah,
dead driver.
That's how I took it anyway.
Well, anyway,
the next video, if you got it,
so going back to the last video and listening to what Howard Lutnick said. You remember he said that Canada was playing with a set of rules that they don't even understand. Talking about the USMCA coming up, so just keep that in mind because these are the set of rules that Mark Carney at Davos said that he thinks that he's playing with.
I'll give you again, I'll appeal since it's in the headlines to the Nordics. Nordics plus Canada, it's 20% of global GDP. Nordics plus Canada, it's 20% of global GDP. It's not the first thing people would realize. Nordics plus Canada, it's 20% of global GDP.
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried.
Isn't that funny?
I can't believe they're laying off pitches this close.
God bless whoever made that, dude.
Elvish Cajun Master says Trump lies too. You're right. All politicians do.
Yes.
So 100%. Not wrong.
They're all fucking liars. 100%.
They are all fucking liars. Yeah.
Trump's always been a liar. This is what I don't think anybody fucking realizes about people that voted for Trump. We never liked his shows typically. Like, I always knew he was a lying fucking piece of shit builder. I know contractors that got fucked by him. I didn't care. I know he's a piece of shit. Dude, did you see the other day where he was like, I'm looking for something to grab. I need something to grab. And fucking Caroline Leavitt's like this in the back, like, oh my God. It's like, oh, she's definitely been grabbed already. He doesn't care. You can grab him by the pussy. You know how it works.
Right.
Yeah. 100%. What was that by MP Shiner?
Next video, if you want to pull it up.
Hold on. MP Shiner. I didn't get to read it because I was laughing too hard. The Japanese PM and lower parliament is that partially because the stipulation put on Japan after World War II is ending, so they're allowed to start restructuring and building up their own military. Yeah. We finally hit that time frame. So
who's that? Germany can?
Japan.
Germany what?
Oh, Japan.
We're talking about
Japan.
Japan.
Up the military now? Okay.
So, well, I was going to answer the question, but essentially the stipulations that you guys are talking about on like their full sovereignty or whatever ended in 1952. So it's not like the Article 9 renunciation of war article, which was the constraint article that was on Japan. That's been like reinterpreted and worked over and over again, basically for decades, because the United States has let them restructured their self-defense force. They don't actually have a military. So it's been restructured like over and over and over and over again. So like, it's not because there's like new permission, like the permission has been given back to them since 1952. It's just a function of that constitution. But it is true that the United States had a hand in what their constitution was, but a lot of that sovereignty stuff started going back to them 10, 12 years after World War II. So
yeah. Well, thank you for the $2, MP Shiner. And hey, let me know. You should have something in your mailbox. Should have been there already. So let me know about that. Anyway, moving right along. So we heard what Mark Carney had to say. We heard what Howard Lutnick had to say. Here was Trump's response to all that. And this comes from his speech there at Davos.
Going to be defending Canada. Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your prime minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Mike, as the guest, sir. We're just gentlemen around here, bro.
I love that because, you know, what have we seen, especially by the Democrat presidents? You see, Obama went on an apology tour. You had Hillary Clinton bringing fucking Russia a reset button like that was going to work, like it's fucking Target or, you know, one of the, what was it?
Staples easy button.
Yeah, the easy button.
Well, if you remember too, the guy looked at it. He's like, "That's not what that says either." Like they even used the wrong Russian word on it when they tried to pull the stunt.
Exactly, and it's like these people, you know, and here you have a president that's no longer apologizing for America. Trump said several times in that speech, you know what I realized in dealing with you jerk offs? You know, he's like, you need us way more than we need you. You need us. We don't need you, you know, and finally we have a president that realizes that. Finally, we have a president that's willing to call these people out like to their faces. I love what he does to these world leaders, especially when he brings them into the Oval Office, sits them down like this, and just like, hey, can you tell me why you're killing Christians, you know? And no, we're not doing that. Yeah, you are. Here, look, this guy's dead. This guy's dead. This guy's dead. I love it. I wish he'd do that to some Republican politicians. I wish he'd do that to some Democrat politicians here at home to get them to do some stuff. I feel the one thing that bothers me about it is he is overseas setting us up, and right now, like nothing everything's executive order. Nothing's by law. Right. So when we get in there, if things go wrong, or if we get a Democrat Congress and a Democrat Senate in this upcoming midterm, you know what's going to happen. It's his presidency is basically over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, there's a comment right here hanging out. He says, I think the focusing on global factors are a distraction. The U.S. government doesn't want you talking about the real threats to U.S. GDP, like the fact that gold has skyrocketed. Yeah, man, you know, I'll say this about that. Like a lot of this stuff, like people moving their U.S. Treasury, like bonds into gold and things like that aren't having the effect that some people are implying it's having on actual like U.S. reserve currency. You know, the system the world uses is SWIFT, and the reserve currency for the world is still the U.S. dollar. And so with people moving, yes, like gold is higher than it has been in other instances, but it has a lot more to do with the fact that a lot of these treasuries and bonds, they exist with the volatility of the world market. And it just is what it is right now with a lot of these tariffs and restructuring. So I don't necessarily think that this is like a threat to reserve currency or like GDP, right? In the long run, it has more to do with people protecting their interests. It's not like selling off, because you got to remember too, like what a bond is. Like if you're selling it off, right, you could potentially be losing out on your investment at the end of the day, because that's what those things are. So it's not like a 1-for-1, dollar for dollar sort of thing like some people think it is, you know, like, especially with like, you know, I use this as an example, right? Like the Chinese debt that they own that's American. It's like, well, a lot of that is in bonds and treasuries as well too. You know, so if they're selling those things off and like they're cutting their losses or whatever, you know, they're hurting themselves in the long run. So I don't think it's necessarily this massive thing to be like super concerned about in the way that, you know, it's a real legitimate threat to reserve currency and reserve currency strength per se. But it's market volatility. I'll give you that. But Knights of Storm says nations that hold a lot of our debt are getting nervous and moving towards BRICS and away from the dollar as the petrocurrency. Man, I say this about BRICS and I'll say it again, dude. BRICS is Chuck E. Cheese tokens at the end of the day, to quote one of our homies from China, actually. You can't take Chuck E. Cheese tokens and go to Walmart and buy anything with them. There's no such thing as a BRICS currency. It's not a replacement for a reserve currency because it doesn't exist. It's also not a money a way to transfer money, to payment systems, any of that stuff. Like the Chinese have done a really good job insulating themselves away from some of the things that having to use SWIFT, but they still have to use SWIFT for a lot of the transactions that they do, which is why a lot of this black market stuff that everybody keeps talking about and has been talking about for a while exists. You know, oil being an example of that. But go look at what these BRICS nations are, right? This is, to me, I look at it this way, and I've said this before too. You know, nobody can kill an idea whose time has come. And the idea of this and the replacing of the American petrodollar as the world reserve currency, that idea, you know, having nubs, I won't call it, you know, legs. It doesn't really have nubs really anymore. But it's one of the reasons why too, like you bring up BRICS is why Trump is invoking Monroe Doctrine and the Roosevelt Corollary and the Donroe Doctrine and all these things. It's like, well, that plays into it. Some of these countries here in South and Central America are supportive of BRICS, and they've even had relationships with the Chinese. Like we talked about Venezuela, the sort of debt trap diplomacy that's been going on there between Venezuela and China has been going on well before BRICS was a thing, or the BRI anyway. So at the end of the day, BRICS doesn't concern me anywhere near as our inability to produce things in American industry. So it's just my 2 cents on that. So.
Well, and it was kind of doomed from the off too, because two of the biggest countries that are in that agreement or trying to work together both have a stated goal of being the number one world dominant superpower. So how are those two countries going to, you know what I mean? Like eventually that's going to come to a head and split. But
naturally, alliance wise too, you look at like the 3 biggest GDPs, I guess, or biggest countries in the BRICS alliance, right? You got Russia, you got China, and you got India. Right? India, Russia, and China are not natural allies in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Yeah, the Howard Lutnick made a reference, and I can't remember if it's in one of the videos that we're going to show, but he was talking about the WEF, and he said that he thinks of the WEF as it's thought of as a flagpole, but he views them as the flag on the flagpole, sort of blowing whatever direction the wind is blowing, and that's India. You know, I view them like, obviously there's value in having a relationship with them in certain aspects. There's also not value in having a relationship in many others. But Modi is going to do a lot of whatever he thinks is going to legitimize his country. They have many issues, but Russia, I mean, look at the Sino-Russian alliance is, you know, historically one that's not very friendly either. So this like convenient bedfellows based on political idea and ideological alignment more than anything,
which is anti-Americanism.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving right along, You brought this up earlier, Mike, and I thought it was a really good point about how Trump and Howard Lutnick, right, Scott Bessent, they all went over there and they said, hey, we're going to be America first. But there is another message that they went with, and that was, in as much as America is becoming America first, we want Europe to be Europe first as well. Mm-hmm. Do what is best for you. It's a message of it's okay to be patriotic again, for the English to be English and you know, the Scottish to be Scottish and so on and so forth. And that's this next video that we have is Trump speaking to, it's from the same speech, but this next clip is how he's talking about, you know, how America loves Europe. We just want Europe to be Europe again.
Going to be defending Canada.
Oh,
Canada gets a lot of free.
Forgot to trade it out.
We want videos about Europe to be videos about Europe.
Me too.
Just joking.
They all have the exact same background.
I know.
The United States cares greatly about the people of Europe. We really do. I mean, look, I am derived from Europe, Scotland and Germany.
I'm white.
100% Scotland, my mother, 100% German, my father. And we believe deeply in the bonds we share with Europe as a civilization. I want to see it do great. That's why issues like energy, trade, immigration, and economic growth must be central concerns to anyone who wants to see a strong and united West, because Europe and those countries have to do their thing. They have to get out of the culture that they've created over the last 10 years. It's horrible what they're doing to themselves. They're destroying themselves. It's beautiful, beautiful places. We want strong allies, not seriously weakened ones. We want Europe to be strong. The situation in Minnesota reminds us that the West cannot mass import foreign cultures which have failed to ever build a successful society of their own. I mean, we're taking people from Somalia, and Somalia is a failed, it's not a nation. Got no government, got no police, got no military, got no nothing. The explosion of prosperity and conclusion and progress that built the West did not come from our tax codes. It ultimately came from our very special culture. This is the precious inheritance that America and Europe have in common. We share it. We share it, but we have to keep it strong. We have to become stronger, more successful, and more prosperous than ever. We have to defend that culture and rediscover the spirit that lifted the West from the depths of the Dark Ages to the pinnacle of human achievement. We live in an incredible, changing period. It's an unbelievable time, but we have to take advantage of the time that we're in.
I gotta say too, when he finally stopped dyeing his hair and now that he's just rocking the silver white, dude looks even way more distinguished.
Yeah.
Like,
and he lurches, you know what I'm saying? Trump's kind of got that like lurch forward and he like walks like he's very easy. He's very interesting. But did you notice what he said though? Like, we have got to stop importing people from countries that have never built anything of their own. And, you know, I think there's something to be said about that because I thought our immigration, we wanted to take some of the best people out of there. But when you do that, you're not helping that country out. The only way to really help these people is in their own fucking country. And it's definitely not going to be by taking their best and their brightest people and bringing them to America. But that's like the whole immigration system. It's tough because we do need those people. I mean, we do need some immigration and we need the right people coming here. But if you do take the right people out of there, they might be someone that might be able to build their own country. The only way we can ever help people is in their own countries. Their country has to get their shit together. But what does it say that Trump says that these countries have never built anything of their own?
Right.
And when you have that type of culture where you come from a culture that is so, you know, really garbage that you have never built anything of your own, to where you only have sewers and you live in just the most ridiculous conditions. You're going to bring them here and think they could assimilate into America? I don't see how it works for anybody. I don't see how it works for Americans.
Well, I don't disagree with that notion at all. Quite frankly, it's not even that their countries aren't as developed as the United States, right? And they certainly can't seem to get certain things right. But there's a shared values thing that's been going on here for a while and has been going away and disappearing for a while too. And you bring in immigrants, and I'm not talking about the immigrants today. I'm talking about like immigrants typically from, or what's believed, right, or the early 20th century, and the assimilation factor that's gone on. I don't see as much assimilation. I think there are immigrants who come here that are very appreciative of this country. There are some that are like that, but there are a lot more, I would say, that aren't, right? And there's also, I would say, a difference between multiculturalism and then accepting people from different cultures who come here and assimilate. Because multiculturalism to me sounds a lot like a bunch of coexisted crap, right? And you can't have something like that in a country, because eventually at the end of the day, the governed, right, the consent of the governed to have a government has to mean that there's an accepted, shared principles, essentially, that you are allowing the government to, impose on you with your permission. And if you have this concept of multiculturalism going on, and you've got Somalis and you've got, Venezuelans or Rwandans and Thai and all these other things going on. And, it's not exactly a recipe for success. Like this is still a country, even if it's a country of immigrants, and the concept of country denotes a set of shared values and an agreed what should be an agreement to assimilate at the end of the day. And that's not multiculturalism. That's assimilation of cultures into a shared set of principles that the United States has had established for a long time. So there's a big difference there, and Europe is losing that completely.
Because the shared set of principles used to be Poland for America, hard work, the American dream. Now you no longer have that. You know what you have now is you have hate that's being created. So if you think about what's gone on, they brought in a whole bunch of Somalis, they brought them into a whole bunch of different areas, and the people that have been neglected for the longest time now see all of a sudden that the government has all this money for these Somalians. They have money to help get them a job. They have money to help pay for their food. They have money for all of this stuff, and these guys are getting it. Like I've watched enough of these YouTubers. You've seen enough evidence from all the different news outlets to all the different reporting to everything to where you see these people are getting money. So when you have a group of people that come in and start getting stuff that the regular American taxpayer is like, why are you neglecting me? You're creating hate. You're creating a double standard. You're not creating people that want to be friends with each other. You're creating adversaries. And it's adversaries by basically government-funded money. It's disgusting.
Well, and then they also, on top of all of that, create the sanctuary states and the sanctuary cities, full well knowing that it creates these carved out enclaves. And then they further entice groups of people to settle there in greater numbers with the welfare handouts and so on and so forth, and all of the benefits that they can get. So yeah, obviously the manufacturing, I'm going to call it manufactured constituency, is obviously the point, right? It was always there, right on the nose, but they covered it over and played this game of, well, diversity is our strength, and like, America was built by immigrants, and you're not patriotic if you don't support that, and blah 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 blah. And for a long time, Americans were bullied and kowtowed into, oh, good God, don't call me racist. I would never want that to be the case.
I blame millennials. Actually, I want to make a point, because we wound up talking about America with this when we were talking about Europe before. Europe has had cultures that are compartmentalized in a way, but also are very joined together because of their history for a lot longer than the United States. The Germans have a distinct culture. The French have a distinct culture. The Italians have a distinct culture. The Spanish have a distinct culture. Like, these are very, very real things. And the notion that you could take thousands of years of culture that has existed and built, it's the spine literally of Western civilization, and invite in a bunch of people from, the Middle East and the African continent, some of these other places from around the world, and not enforce this human concept of assimilation, right? I don't see how you couldn't, as a European, could not forecast that was going to be just a massive problem. And it's funny too, because like there's always this accusation that Americans are, ultra nationalists and all these other things. It's like, well, I've lived in Germany. I lived in Europe quite a lot because of the military. And I'll tell you right now, dude, like, Germans are German, and they know that, and they will tell you that. And they don't even have to tell that to somebody who's a migrant from outside of Europe. Go look at any time the World Cup is going on, right? The Germans know they're German, and those French guys over there, or the Brits, or the Spanish, or the Italians, or whatever. So they're very well aware of their own culture, and very well aware of what that sovereignty and history and all of that looks like. A lot of the hate, as it were, right, between these guys can be traced back to medieval empires and kings and queens and things like that throughout history, right? There's wrongs that the French have done to the Brits and vice versa, or the Scots, with the English and all these other things that they still talk about today. So there's just this concept of introducing multiculturalism into a place like the European continent that has a history as rich as it is, and is quite literally the backbone of Western civilization, is stupid. And I don't know why, like, somebody like Angela Merkel thought it was such an awesome idea, but here we are.
Well, I mean, to your point, I think that the powers that be that were manufacturing this to happen absolutely knew that it was going to cause a problem, but causing a problem was the point, because globalism was the goal, right? To the average European on the street that was convinced to believe that it's our
they're way more liberal than
penance
us,
or something to take in these third worlders, and I'm not allowed to have any type of pride in my culture or any type of pride in my history or whatever, because that would be elitist or that would be racist or whatever the case was. But the people that caused the problem, that manufactured this, absolutely knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
When they
well, it's funny too, you mentioned that, because if you go and re-listen to some of the speeches that Angela Merkel made when they agreed that they were going to start letting in a bunch of these immigrants or refugees or whatever you want to call them, there's references to penance and the German history and European history. And again, it's always this vehicle of being the oppressor, and we're inherently bad, and our history is so terrible that we have to allow these things to happen to dilute our culture, and everything is going to be fine, as if, we're going to carry on with forcing people to assimilate or leave and not allow for the introduction of these different standards because of multiculturalism. Well, the Somalis in the United States have a different standard than the people who have lived here for generations. It's like when you get pissed off when you see Verizon offering a brand new deal to new customers, and you're like, what the fuck, bro? I've been paying my phone bill for the past 20 years, right? It's just basically the same concept at the end of the day. And so it's incredibly frustrating to see. And I know Germans feel this way. And I think a lot of Americans would be really surprised to hear. Like, I have a really good German friend who I speak to often, right? And he speaks and complains about basically the same things that I complain about. And it some of it ties right back to illegal immigration or the legal immigration that's gone on in Europe. With the invitation for all these people, and then the dilution of German culture. It's just, you can't pretend that this doesn't exist, man. Like, this is how it is and has been for a long fucking time. And this Marxist postmodernist, concept of like collectivization, and then this oppressor oppressed lens, and the hate on capitalism, and the total run on family values, and the eradication of the individual for the identity, all of these things that exist, truth is power, all this other crap that's postmodernist and Marxist, like all of it is 100% the vehicle for all of the introduction of all this shit, man. Like, it's just, it's so blatantly obvious. It just,
Have you ever seen that one reel where you had that one smug little reporter and that one, that one professor, and he's like, no, what you're trying to do is you're trying to say that, oh, my ancestors were just drowning in their own homogeneity, and they needed all of you immigrants to come and just save us from ourselves. He's like, no, that's bullshit. My ancestors made a great fucking place, and it's not abnormal for me to want to fight to keep it that way. And the girl looks at him. She's like, okay, I think I've taken enough of your time. And then it's like the interview over.
Who is it that constantly makes this argument about we weren't immigrants, we were settlers? Is that Matt Walsh? He says that a lot. I don't remember. There's
one
somebody
of them,
who,
yeah.
Yeah, there's somebody who makes that point often, because everybody likes to say, oh, well, we're immigrants too, and this is stolen land. It's like, well, there's a massive difference between being an immigrant and settling a country, right? Like, that's what our ancestors did. And did you see too that Mark Carney made a joke about how Canadians were mapping out the United States before we even left St. Louis? Did you see that?
He
made a comment
French?
about that. Exactly. But he said that. He said Canadians were mapping the United States before they even left St. Louis. Exactly, dude. Like, you mean all the French fur trappers, right? Like, I guess the guys that would kill you in the middle of the woods for being a fag the way you are, dude.
Another country's aristocracy on your money. You can't even come up with your. Oh my God!
Listen, man. You not only put yourself in the cuck chair, you built it. Okay.
I mean, baby, anyway. the guy's got his own money. Yeah. When I say he's got, the boy's got his own money.
Hell yeah, appreciate that.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway,
some movie lines in my head.
There you go. One of the things that I appreciated about the envoy, the American envoy that went to Davos, is how on message all three of them were together. So we just bounced off of a video of Trump talking to the Europeans. Well, here's Howard Lutnick again. And he was sitting on a panel, and here's some of the stuff that he had to say about the globalization efforts prior to Trump 2.
Okay. We are in Davos at the World Economic Forum. And the Trump administration and myself, we are here to make a very clear point. Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America. It's a failed policy. It is what the WEF has stood for, which is export, offshore, far shore, find the cheapest labor in the world, and the world is a better place for it. The fact is, it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind. And what we are here to say is that America First is a different model, one that we encourage other countries to consider, which is that our workers come first. We can have policies that impact our workers. Sovereignty is your borders. You're entitled to have borders. You shouldn't offshore your medicine. You shouldn't offshore your semiconductors. You shouldn't offshore your entire industrial base and have it be hollowed out beneath you. You should not be dependent for that which is fundamental to your sovereignty on any other nation. And if you're going to be dependent on someone, it darn well better be your best allies. Okay? And so that is a different way of thinking. It is completely different than the WEF. I viewed the WEF as not a flagpole in the middle, but in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew. You should have solar. You should have wind. Why are you going to do solar and wind? Why would Europe agree to be net zero in 2030 when they don't make a battery? They don't make a battery. So if they go 2030, they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries.
Yeah.
It's so perfect what he said.
Reference. Yeah. No, you're right. You know, it is an unrealistic expectation. And it's funny too. He said that this is a new way of thinking. Actually, it's not. It's like one of the oldest ways of thinking ever. You know, this idea that your country should be for you, you know, and there is a concept of legal immigration, and it's like this concept. Are you guys familiar with the term implied consent?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No
That's
means
basically
no. Yes means anal. Yeah.
No, implied consent. Like, I'll give you an example. Okay. So implied consent, if you are going to travel onto like a military installation, it's implied that you give your consent to be searched when you come on. Like, you don't have the right to refuse when you go onto a federal installation. There's just different rules. And so when you immigrate to a foreign country, or if I go and visit, right, there's this implied consent that I am going to assimilate or respect your culture, right? Mm-hmm. That is as old as time. Like, people have been killed for less. You know what I mean? Like, this is the way it is. And so it's funny. You know, he talks about it, this like new concept. It's like a dog whistle for the fact that, no, we're doing things, you know, a new way because of all this shit that's been going on recently, when really it's just like one of the oldest concepts in human history of a shared national identity and the mutual bond you have with an allied nation. Right. And that doesn't mean that those things can't be in flux, but that's just the way of the damn world, man. Like, that's just it.
It's common sense, though. Think about what he said. It's like, it's such a perfect line. You should not be dependent for anything that is vital to your sovereignty, to your national sovereignty.
How could anybody be mad about that?
You can't be. And then to use the example of the UK pledging to be all electric when they don't make batteries is the most ignorant thing on the planet. And if you don't think it's like, everyone has this short-term memory that we didn't just live through COVID where people were fighting over fucking toilet paper, right? It's all of a sudden, hey, where are we going to get toilet paper from? Oh my God, I have to have cops guarding toilet paper at local stores, at local Costco's, local Sam's Clubs. This is what we were seeing. And you know, we witnessed then how indebted we actually are to China. If China stopped doing business with us, we are fucked in a lot of regards, in a lot of ways. And I don't think that's safe. We talk so much about national security. We spend $4 billion a year on national security. And I feel like I'm an Independence Day, like the Independence Day, the fate of the planet. You know, like what's that?
Way more than $1 billion on national security.
Well, I thought it was 1.4. They said for the Department of War.
I'll look it up, but
you know, and it's
way
like,
over $1 billion.
Okay, well, you know what I'm saying. You know, oh, sorry,
we get what you
it
mean.
said 100 billion. No. Whatever fucking Trump said, it was a lot. It was a lot of money.
Way more than I have.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. You know, we have. What's our defense? Our defense is coming down. Our defense is coming down to situations like this. That isn't going to be military. You know, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of this type of stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, 1.5 is not. Yeah, that's a way low. I feel like Dr. Evil. $1 million.
Right. Hey, dude, actually, that's not a lot of money anymore.
1990, dude. No, I was just gonna say
1.5 trillion. Sorry, that sounds more like it.
It makes way more sense when you understand that the world. It comes down to a very actual simple dichotomy. They wanted to create a world without borders. That's all that it was. And so the more that you can tear down sovereignty, it really just all comes back to the border issue. They want nations dependent on other nations because then it brings about, like, look at the people that are sitting on the WEF. It's not just nation leaders, but these are like the world's billionaires that go there and sit there, and their businesses are multinational and span the globe. Right. These pesky borders and tariffs and having to pay to have stuff, you know, exit a country and enter a country. This is costing them money, man. So a world without borders, that's what they wanted. And here Trump is coming back in and he's just cutting straight to the heart of it and going exactly cross grain with them. And he's going, no, we want a world with borders. It's like your dad used to say it, your grandpa used to say it. Good fences make good neighbors, man. And we're bringing it back, and it really is just that simple. Like that's what he's doing to him. That's what he's saying.
I don't remember which agency did it. It could have been Fish and Wildlife, but they tracked several packs of wolves across, I want to say like the Ohio Valley or somewhere thereabouts near the Great Lakes. And essentially they tracked different packs and they saw that they naturally established their own borders. And the way they knew this is because of like the ways that they would encroach on different spots and they would stay within the confines for the most part, right? Animals aren't like people in the way that we, you know, have hard lines and things like that, but they established their own natural borders. And then if you want to say, well, that's animals, right? Like human beings and animals, it's not a 1-for-1 exchange. Like you're right. Okay. Human beings have boundaries. We exercise those boundaries every single day. How many of you guys work in a cubicle? You ever had your boss just walk into your cubicle without stopping outside of it before and addressing you before walking up behind you while you're at the computer? Like those are just personal boundaries. This is a small example of a broader set or aspect of human nature in general. Like people want boundaries with other people. Those boundaries extend to living with people that you agree with, and at the end of the day, sometimes it is, you know, who looks like you and people that speak your language and people that enjoy the same food, all these things that make up a culture that broadly gets formed into a camp of people that broadly gets formed into what is, you know, eventually a sovereign nation. Like this is just human nature, right? And at the end of the day, like this it's sort of become the unofficial theme of the front half of this show, but like that's just how humans are hardwired. And it's easy to, and we talked about this too. I'll say this. I think one of the other things and the reasons why there's the introduction of all of these immigrants and refugees, or what do you want to call them, from all of these third world countries, is because you're importing peasants who are going to actually do whatever it is you say, because you've incentivized their arrival in your country by literally subsidizing their life and making them a priority over the people that lived there before. And so when you install a peasant class of people and you treat them like a goldfish in a bowl and everything they have is because of you, right? Obviously, yes, they're going to vote for you. But the other part of it is, like we've been talking about before, they're going to dilute your culture. And now you're having to deal with essentially trying to jam a bunch of people that don't see things your way and don't want to play by the rules and don't even have to play by the rules, and trying to coexist alongside those people and work your way towards, you know, having the same sort of life that's established your society from the beginning to the point you're at now. Like that's a math problem that don't math, you know?
I'm with you, but how do you guys reconcile in your head the give me your poor, tired, huddled masses yearning to be free
That stupid poem on the base of the Statue of Liberty.
Exactly, that stupid poem on the base. But it was one of those things. Like I look at it as we can't take in all the world's poor, right? But I like what you said. Like, do we have peasants? Do we have people here that are capable of even living in our country? Because we're taking in a lot of people that I don't think they're capable of living here, like citizens like we are. You know, how many people don't speak the language? If you don't speak the language, we have a lot of different languages. In my school, in my kids' school alone, we have 18 different languages in New Jersey. Like,
I see it out here in California. That's why my son moved schools, because the school that he got aligned in district wise, we went there and he was the only native English speaker in a class of 15 kids, to include the 2 teachers that taught there. Their primary languages were Spanish. One of them spoke pretty good English and the other one barely spoke English. And it's just like, I'm not doing this, man. Yeah, I'm not. Exactly. Like, it's just not fair to him. Like, I understand, you come here and a child is raised in a home, with 2 parents that speak whatever language they speak. But at the end of the day, like, you are not only failing to assimilate, but you are failing to set that child up for success in that country by refusing to participate in that society. And last time I checked, for society to work, people have to participate in it,
And what happens though? But we talk about this, but there's real ramifications for this shit. Because what happens? Chances are that kid now costs 5 times more to educate than your child, because your child's going to be reading at grade level. Your kid doesn't need the special care. Your kid doesn't need to get breakfast and lunch given to him. Your kid doesn't need all those other things. So you have another kid that's on the system that's going to be taking $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 to educate, because if these kids aren't reading by grade level, reading and writing by grade level by 3rd grade, it doubles the cost to educate them. People don't realize this shit. And it costs a lot of money to educate a lot of these kids. So that type of situation drains on tax dollars. And everyone wonders, why are we getting taxed more? Why are we getting taxed more? Well, you have way more of that going on and no one even realizes it.
Are you guys ready for this? I looked it up in the background if you want to know. So the poem is called The New Colossus. It was written by Emma Lazarus in 1883, and it was put on the Statue of Liberty's pedestal in 1903 as a bronze plaque. Now, Emma Lazarus, born 1849, died 1887, came from a pretty specific slice of 19th century New York. Born and raised in New York, she was wealthy, came from a long-established wealthy Sephardic Jewish family, privately educated in New York, spoke multiple languages, became a prominent poet, essayist, and one of the first widely recognized Jewish American literary figures. Her activism sharpened after the Russian pogroms of the early 1880s, and she became a vocal advocate for Jewish refugees and immigrants, doing hands-on aid work and public writing in their defense. So it was written by a liberal Jewish chick in 1883. Just giving you the background. I love it for everybody out there.
I was just trying to play some devil's advocate.
But I mean, are you surprised? Is anybody surprised about what I just dug out of the history books? No, a wealthy liberal Jewish chick who was an immigrant activist.
It was actually perfect.
And to your point, though, like it's funny you bring that up, because people try to use it as like some sort of slam dunk on the immigration argument. And it's like, you know what? That is a impossible standard, right? Like, you cannot sit there and tell me that you truly believe that the complete and total influx of everybody around the world is in any way a good idea, right? And so it's funny. It comes from people who have no actual principles. They're, to use Howard Lutnick's analogy again, they are not the flagpole. They are the flag atop the flagpole, blowing in whatever direction the wind is telling them to blow. It's just whatever's politically convenient at the time is what they're going to use to argue with you.
Have you guys ever seen the immigration analogy with the professor using the gumballs?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, is this the one where they dump the sand inside the jar? Or is
No. This was a guy talking about the world's population. And he had all the world's population sitting in these big jars full of gumballs. And what he was talking about was the American immigration system. He's like, we think we're doing something when we take one of these people out. And what he had was each gumball represented, or each of the gumball jars represented the 4.4 billion people on the planet that the World Bank classifies as making less than $2 a day. And it was a tremendous amount of people. And he's like, every year we take, every gumball was 1 million people. He goes, every year we take one gumball, which is this. And every year the world is going to add a whole cup full of gumballs. And he was filling up this one jug. And he goes, and then next year we're going to take one more gumball. And the world's going to add another this amount of pour. So he was trying to like portray like how futile that one little gumball that we're taking out, how futile it is. Now, it represents 1 million people. But when you look at it, you have 4.4 billion people on the planet that are just living in abject poverty. We cannot take care of all the world's poor. So how do you pick and choose who's deserving to come to this country and not?
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty easy. The ones that you can manipulate the most.
There you go. Nailed it. The ones that are going to vote for Democrats. That's how the Democrats will like it, right?
Yeah. Crazy Duck Lady is asking us to play the full 6-minute video. I don't know if we'll play the full 6-minute video, but I'll say this. At some point next week, I'll find it, and then I'll splice bits and pieces of it and try to post it on our socials if anybody is interested.
That gumball
or you
video
can go find it.
it's so perfect.
Got the link right there if anybody wants to follow the YouTube link and go watch it. So
after the show, though, do that shit after the show, not during the show.
Coming up right to the end here, Carney was not the only goofball at Davos. Here, I believe this is the Finnish president, and he's sitting on a panel, and they're talking about defense in Europe. So we'll wrap up the section of Davos on this one, and it's kind of a good note to end on.
The urgency. Who needs to come up with the plan B and lead the charge?
Well, I mean, two answers. First is a direct answer to the question of this panel: can Europe defend itself? My answer is unequivocally yes.
Without the Americans?
Without the Americans. I mean,
how?
Well, look.
But you're relying on them for
now,
these
to be
elements.
fair to this guy, I think he was asking the
at
question back
duration,
to her.
at
With an assumption that the United States would cut off completely any kind of work. Well, if we look at the
I'm going to answer this question directly.
Europe by and large, in a country like Finland.
I haven't even
so
seen
how
this
do we
video.
do it?
Can't even hear
we
it.
have conscription. 1 million have done it. We can mobilize 280,000 soldiers within weeks. We have 62 F-18s. Your next question is going to be, do they fly without Americans? No, they don't. But do we trust that they will continue to fly because it's in the interest of America to do so? Yes. We just bought 64 F-35s.
Where'd you get those from?
The biggest
Right
artillery
now he's
in Europe,
saying how
together
they
with
could
Poland.
they could pull
we
this
have
off without
long-range
America.
missiles, land,
He's trying to defend
sea,
himself.
and air. We don't have this because we're worried about Stockholm, right? So, the bottom line is that if you ask me the question that can the Finnish military defend itself against a Russian attack, the whole defense posture of the way in which you do it, yes, we can. But then
can't.
So he was laying out his case, but what's really funny is she comes back to push back on him. To get some clarification. And that's what this sounded like right after he finished his answer.
You've said earlier that Europe can defend itself without the Americans. If it comes down...
not exact. That's not a quote.
More or less. More or less.
Let's,
we'll go back to the transcript.
Let's stick to the left on this one, yeah?
More or less. More or less.
I love journalists.
Bro, back off that.
They make me accountable to my words.
Bro, his little butt plug warning thing vibrated. Trump hit the button. You better watch it. Pal.
Of course we can do it without America. Of course we can. We can defend ourselves.
We have 62 F-18s. They can't fly without America, but we will use them, and we hope that we trust that they will give us the intelligence and the capability to do so, but we can do it without them.
Like, so before you said you could do it without America, I did not say anything of the sort. No, I did not
at all.
How dare you say that about me? And then with a big ass fucking teeth, bro. You saw like gums, then teeth, and he had the teeth that kind of stick out like this. Weird. So those people are weird looking.
Yeah, well, I'm finished with him. You know what I mean? So
I got no more use for that guy.
Right.
No, well, I mean, he figured it out really quick. He was like, you know what?
So without Trump is in the audience. We need them. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then just to put a capstone on all of this, this is something that the president had to say directly about China. And Brandon, if you want to cue up the soundbite for Ratchet, because I know she's going to ask for it. Here's what he had to say about China, and this is just a good way to end. I like the high note. You know what I'm saying?
I do too.
China makes almost all of the windmills. And yet I haven't been able to find any wind farms in China. Did you ever think of that? It's a good way of looking at it. They're smart. China's very smart. They make them, they sell them for a fortune. They sell them to the stupid people that buy them. But they don't use them themselves. They put up a couple of big wind farms, but they don't use them. They just put them up to show people what they could look like. They don't spin. They don't do anything. They use a thing called coal. Most.
Just
beautiful, clean coal. Yeah,
China.
Beautiful,
China is asshole.
Oh, sorry.
There it is, dude. We got another one too.
Made in China.
Oh,
there you go.
Absolutely. But you got to love it. And to your point, Mike, I think that most patriotic Americans are feeling this way. I loved watching him go into Davos and look right at everybody in the audience and tell them all they were stupid people.
Just stupid people. But he was like, China's laughing at you. They can't believe that you buy these stupid ass things, you morons. Do you know how much China's laughing at you? Because I'm friends with China. They tell me how much they're laughing. We were actually laughing, pointing at you the other day for buying them. Oh, it's fucking great, this guy.
Well, it's funny because if you go and look at like WEF statistics on wind farms in China, it'll tell you that they have been leading for like the past 15 years in wind energy. And it's like, okay, cool. Like we're talking about like the number of windmills, but like, let's look at actual production power and energy production and energy use. It doesn't even touch the other things that China uses for energy. Like it's not even comparable. So it's again, it's like this example of how statistics can be used to lie to you. And it's, oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
so yeah,
you know, somebody made a reel about that the other day.
We did talk about that a lot. Absolutely. Was that our last video?
That was it, man. That wraps up the kick around, which you know what that means. It's time for me to sell you guys some shit. So now's a really good time to take a break, go drain the main vein, top off your drink, whatever you guys are doing on a Friday night. But don't get too far away that you can't hear me while I tell you they can cancel your accounts, freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever. Introducing Rumble Wallet. A wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middlemen, and no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference. This isn't a credit line they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently. Yours to protect your future. Yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when the institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics. It's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom. Thank you to Rumble so much. They're good to us, and we want to be good back to them. And you guys know how we do around here. I am never going to just sell you something without bringing you back up for just a little bit of air. So I'm going to reach down in my bag of goodies. Let's see what we got down in here, and let's knock this one out. This was actually one that I saved the other day, guys, for a segment and didn't get used. And I was like, you know what? It's just too good. This counts as a palate cleanser for me. Maybe we'll even do a double because that was the longest kick around of all time. But anyway, check this one out, guys. FAFO.
Oh, I love this video.
I know, right?
Do you remember Street Fighter?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Dude, he straight hits 3 people with Hadoukens.
I know. Yeah, he does.
Like this guy, I've never seen a dude like legit reach for the ground before he throws a punch and still land the punch.
I know.
But this may be the greatest video ever. Here it comes. Ready?
Boom!
And go down. And then he hits this guy. Then watch this one poor bastard right here just wears one. Wow! He gets hit. This guy just goes out punching people. Now watch. Look at these punches, dude. He's punching from the ground up.
Oh, dude, totally.
Now here comes Red Jacket again. Ready?
Yeah.
Ready? He goes walking by.
Like a cheap suit.
Now watch this punch from the ground. Ready? Hadouken!
Dude, you could tell watching him punch that he's done that before.
Yeah.
And has learned how to. You like all of it. He's got the rotation of the hips, his feet are set, all of it. Like nobody stood a chance, bro.
He was coming down from the ground up like this.
Yep.
Everybody act like a tough guy, dude, till they take impromptu naps. But anyway, like I said, guys, that was the longest kick around of all time. Let's do a little double cleanse. You down for a double cleanse?
Dude, hold on. Let me get rocking before you guys get into another double cleanse. I apologize. I got to leave. But listen, I'm going to be up for probably 35 hours straight. I got to try to get some sleep tonight. So I hit my limit. Dude, but thank you guys. I really appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime, man. Good luck with the snow plowing, and I hope you make a lot of money, dude.
I hope I make a lot of money too. It's been very, very, very cold. I could use some money. That's for damn sure. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate you guys. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
He's like, how do I stay up for so long? I'm seasonally addicted to Coke.
That is exactly right. Well, I'll tell you what, Brandon, I grabbed this one just for you, my man.
Ooh.
Nigga. I'm 100% nigga.
It do be like that, dude.
Nigga. I'm 200% nigga.
That's awesome, dude. If you see the news report where they aired a video of an old black lady basically, and it was her birthday, and they played the wrong audio for her birthday, and it was that song. Like the audio engineer played that song instead of like something from her time. I think she was turning like 102 or some crap like that. And it's just I'll have to find the YouTube video. It's pretty quick. It could be totally a palate cleanser, but it cuts off after like 3 or 4 seconds of that song, and she's like, "Sorry about that. We played the wrong song." Like, no, somebody did that on purpose, bro. Yeah. It was just as good as fucker right if you remember that one. So yeah, absolutely.
I wasn't expecting to bounce out early, so I got to go back and fix this scene really quick, but I'll get you pulled back in.
Oh no, you're good. Well, no, so it's cool, man, because we're going to talk about something that I've been thinking a lot lately, and for whatever reason, the phrase like deny yourself has come up a lot in my life, and I think that. First, I'll say this. I think everybody struggles with the concept of denying yourself something. I think that some people have a problem with denying themselves alcohol or denying themselves food or whatever. And so, I don't really have issues like that. I don't overeat and overindulge. I don't have, some sort of addiction, with alcohol or dependency on alcohol or drug or anything like that. The broader thing to me, like about denying yourself, comes from the things that give you comfort, or the things that keep you in a place where you're not changing and not evolving as a man. And there are things every day that pop up in, I think, everybody's brain that they would rather do. But the trick at the end of the day is deny yourself, right? And deny the impulse to seek comfort and the impulse to avoid things that are difficult. And at the end of the day, you break it down, that's discipline, but there's not enough of that. And this, we'll have a whole conversation about this too, but when you look around our country, there's not enough people who even understand that concept of denying yourself and your maybe your more baser impulses, or denying yourself something that you really really want because you have to put other people first. And that comes with not just being a husband or a father, but like I think in general, like the expectation is that men, and women have different things that they have to deny in themselves in order to put other people first. And namely, I'm talking about children or another loved one. But it's just something that's come up in my head a lot about this idea, and for me too, the other aspect is not just, denying myself certain things that are comfort, but understanding that I have to sacrifice certain things, or may have to sacrifice certain things to give what's best for somebody else, or a child, and anything like that, right? Like, so it's just this broader concept of deny yourself that I thought would be a good conversation topic tonight. So now that you're done jabbing around.
Thanks. No, 100%, dude. And when you say that to me, it brings up the two words of sacrifice and discipline. And I think about, there's the obviously spiritual and religious aspect side of it, because I am a Christian, right? And Jesus Christ talks about picking up your cross daily and following him. And then obviously, like if you are to follow me, you daily have to, he says, deny yourself and pick up your cross and follow me. So it's fundamental to Christianity if you're going to follow Jesus Christ. And then on the other side, for the people that maybe don't subscribe to that faith, I think that Jocko Willink, I heard him talk about this, and he does in one of his books on discipline, that I thought was very poignant. He talked about how before going on deployment, he would wear his kit every single day and he would work out in his kit, right? And it was because of the discipline that he had to work out in his kit. And even though it feels confining and it feels like it's, restraining him, the more that he had the discipline to put that on, the more freedom of movement he experienced, because it became second nature to him. So then the things that he wasn't able to do before, or maneuvers that he had a hard time with, climbing ladders and bailing in and out of trucks and things like this, became easier the more that he had the discipline, to deny himself, like you're talking about, that comfort of running around without kit. Anybody that's ever worn it knows that it's way more comfortable to run around without kit. If I don't have to wear kit on the range to go shoot, I'm not going to. It's way easier to rifle. But having that discipline to deny yourself that comfort, put the kit on, even though it's hot, even though it's restraining and confining, ultimately you experience more freedom of movement because it becomes second nature to you. I always found that to be a very poignant example of what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, and everybody can think of an example in their lives where, let's just say, there was something that you really wanted, right? And maybe this is even something that you've worked really, really hard for in your life. And maybe you're working towards it and you're getting to the point where you're going to see some sort of success in it, or you're going to actualize a specific goal that you have in your life. And then something happens, right? Throws a wrench in that plan, or introduces a variable that makes it harder for you to achieve that goal, or even says to you, well, you can't achieve that goal now because this other thing that you didn't expect that's popped up deserves your attention more, or is going to limit you. And people don't deal with things like that really well, because you get so focused on the thing that you want specifically, right? Or the thing that you've strived for and you put a lot of effort in. And then to be met immediately with a variable that changes all that up, causes a lot of things like anger, frustration, depression, all these other things that people deal with. And it's like, the reason why it does that is because we don't train ourselves from an early standpoint to accept that reality can change at any point for you, and that dealing with change and rolling with the punches, as it were, is exactly the way that you have to live life, right? There is no set standard of how things are going to go every single day. And having goals is great, and working towards those goals is great, but at the end of the day, you have to accept that the reward is not necessarily the goal. Like you could achieve that goal and you could wind up in, that reward is the goal, whatever you set it out for. You want to get to a certain weight, or you want to do whatever. The actual reward is that you are able to do the work, right? And to deny yourself at the end of it, if you have to give up on something, or the outcome that you wanted isn't going to be the thing that you thought it was going to be, accepting that you have to deny yourself the angst that you want to give into, deny yourself the frustration, the depression, the anger, whatever it is you're feeling about this thing that you wanted, and recognize that the pieces in the middle are the actual reward. And there's a the Bible says, to suffer, and suffering is a privilege. And the ability that you have to go out and do certain things, like that's a reward, and that could change at any point. And I think that there's a broader message in here too. Nothing is about you completely and totally ever. You are not always the most important thing. It's not about you, bro. How many times, and like Chris, like, you can speak on this certainly too, from like a special forces lens, right? Because as a team, you have to eliminate the ego, the self, and you have to be able to work together, even if that means, right, you want the glory, you want to do these things, or you want to be the one that succeeds on the team, or you want to be able to the one that does this really cool thing, right? But at the end of the day, maybe your skill set isn't good enough, or it's not your opportunity, or the randomness that is the military prevents you from being involved in that. And it's, like with police work, right? It just doesn't work out that way, that you get this like street cred, so to speak. Denying yourself is also killing the ego that's inside of you, and understanding that, this is just the way that life has to be. And you get beyond, if you can get beyond that, kind of like what you were saying before, get beyond that and recognize that you're going to have more freedom. You're going to have, like with the whole kit thing, right? You're going to have more freedom because it becomes second nature that you've put yourself through these things, and that the struggle at the end of the day is making you better. Even if you don't get the outcome you thought you were, you're changing, and you're changing. If you're struggling for something and you're working at it, you're changing in a positive way, whatever that is. And I think that in any process like that, there is an element of denying yourself, because you have to kill your ego. You have to understand, right? There's a conversation you and I have sometimes about time in the day and doing things and sticking to doing things, and how much somebody does during the day, and all these other things. And Jocko Willing talks about this, not to like really like make this about Jocko, but there's a bunch of people that talk about this. But everybody has the same 24 hours in the day. You just have to be willing to like put the phone down, or not do, whatever you want to do, a video game, or you really want to read that book, but you can't right now because you've got homework to do. Your kid is asking you for attention, or whatever is going on. At the end of the day, like the whole point of everything boils down to denying yourself and putting other people first, and prioritizing. It's one of the most beautiful things too about, like, I'll say this about, like, having a wife who takes care of your children, right? Like, she denies herself every single night when that kid wakes up for milk, right? She denies herself every single day when that kid is demanding her attention, right? And she would rather watch TV or read a book and can't, right? Women are constantly out, overtouched and by their kids, and the demand for attention, and that, literally for survival, all of these things. Like, to be a mom, especially a young mom, is a total selfless act of denying yourself, completely and totally. If you're a good mom, right? Not every mom does that, but like that right there, it's a total outward expression of selflessness. And so, and I say all that too, to say that deny yourself can mean so many different things, right? Like, you really want something, but it's not what's best. You have to deny yourself that, and you have to learn to be okay with that, or you're going to get stuck in the past. You want to stay in comfort, but you want to get better. You're never going to get better unless you push yourself beyond those comfort zones, and you have to deny yourself those comforts. If you want to take care of people, and you're a mom, or you're a father, or whatever it is you're doing, denying yourself those creature comforts, denying yourself the things that make you feel good about yourself, denying yourself the things that even build your own identity as a human being, and not just the role you have to play, right? Like, these are all elements of this concept of denying yourself, and the things that you have to give up as a person. And there's nothing exceptional about that in life. It is 100% the norm.
That last thing that you just said, man, is the most powerful, and you're absolutely right. I saw somebody ask me earlier, and I do apologize for just throwing around military vernacular. When I say kit, I'm specifically talking about vest with plates in it, and then all of the things that you would need to wear to do whatever your job is in a combat zone. So when I talk about kit, like that's what I'm talking about specifically. And nowadays we have very streamlined, nice, lightweight kits. But back when I first joined in 2011, we had these big, bulky IOTVs with the collars and the peanut flaps, and they were just awful. But just to clear up any confusion, what you guys were asking me about. But I think that last thing you said is the absolute most poignant thing of your entire point that you made, that it is not
it's not the exception.
It's not. To be a human is to suffer. And I think that one of the great lies, especially in this day and age, that is being given to society and just repeated, is that you should seek to remove suffering from your life, like in every single way, right? To find yourself perfectly comfortable seems to be the end all be all, whether you're talking about financially, whether you're talking, there's all the get rich quick schemes, because if you're poor, do this and you'll be wealthy and that'll solve all your problems. Or if you're talking about, like a physical aspect with like the body positivity BS that's being pushed. It's like, no, you're beautiful just the way you are, queen. It doesn't matter. You sent me that disgusting video the other day of that. I couldn't even tell if
the dude
was it a dude? Was it a dude?
It's a very gay, fat dude. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But he ate 4 Sonic cheeseburgers and
it was In-N-Out. It was
In-N-Out. That's right. 4 cheeseburgers and freaking
3 orders of fries. One of them was cheese fries. He basically got like Neapolitan milkshake because he ordered one strawberry, one chocolate, and one vanilla milkshake.
But they were all extra large. Yeah. And then he
got 3 sodas, and then he makes this comment about how one of them is diet. And he's like, like I always say, y'all, balance is key. Well, 700 pounds in a chair.
So anyway. Disgusting. But whether it's the body positivity thing, you're perfect just the way you are, just be comfortable or whatever. Grief. I think grief is a big one. They're starting to move toward trying to put grief like in the DSM for people that grieve too long, and then come up with medications, right, to help people get over the grieving process. That is as natural to grieve over the loss of somebody as anything that it is to be human, and important to move through all the stages of grief. If you're ever to be mentally healthy again, you have to move through it. You can't postpone it or just put it off, right? So it doesn't really matter what it is. All these things, to be human is to suffer. And it seems like we're trying to clinicalize suffering in every aspect, or just come up with a way that you don't have to go through it whatsoever. And I also think that the parent example is kind of the perfect example to talk about all this, right? And especially if you want to take a look at the way that culture writ large treats, the abortion issue. It's like, oh, you got, it went from safe, legal, rare, right, rape and incest to, oh, you found yourself pregnant. Well, that's inconvenient for your life. Have this abortion, and now remove that, and you can go on being comfortable.
Well, it's medical care.
Right. Don't give up anything. To be a parent is to do everything that you just talked about. You have to daily deny yourself nearly every comfort that you could possibly. I had a bowl of banana chips on the ottoman the other day. This is such a stupid story, but I reached into the bowl of banana chips and I grabbed one off the top and I threw it in my mouth, and it was nasty, wet, and soggy. And I nearly threw up, and I looked over, and that's when I realized that my baby, the 2-year-old, was sucking all the banana chips and putting them back in the bowl after he was done with them. And I nearly threw up, right? I was just like, but it hits you. It's like little stuff like that every single day. And of course I wasn't mad at my kid, and I didn't yell at him or anything. I just went and dealt with,
At least they weren't on the floor,
Yeah. But to be a parent is to deny yourself in every way. And I hear people talk all the time, you know, about how they get married, they become parents, and then they have to settle, and all this stuff they wanted to do, they can't do because we had to settle. And then, you know, they want everybody else to feel sorry for them because they settled, not realizing or maybe not stopping to think about all the sacrifice that you pour into your children, right? Like that is
and the benefit you're doing.
And the benefit that you're doing to them, it is a noble thing, right? But to your point,
necessary.
Noble, but it's necessary. But to your point, this is the rule, not the exception. Mm-hmm. You are not some great parent because you're sacrificing for your children.
Yeah, that's what you should do.
What is expected of you. That is the bare minimum. You know, and I think that this concept that you're talking about needs to be amplified, and people need to hear it, that you are not, it should be unreasonable for you to expect a long life full of comfort. Mm-hmm. It should be unreasonable for you to expect that you shouldn't have to give up something that you want for the betterment of somebody else. That is natural. It is what it is to be human. And I think it's one of these core concepts that we need to go back and get right. And people talk about, like, how are we going to change the country? The whole idea that John F. Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country, is an alien concept in 2026 to a younger generation. Well, what is America doing for me? Why should I sacrifice for my country? Because you're one of the weirdos that live in it. And you run around all the time complaining about how bad things are, but you're not willing to put your ass on the line to do something about it. You're not even willing to sacrifice the smallest thing for the guy next door. And then you want to ask what your country is going to do for you. The hubris of it all is kind of mind-boggling.
Well, you said something earlier when you were talking about the medicalization of grief. And then when you started talking about parents and how the bare minimum is to sacrifice for your kid, like that's just the way it is. Like you're not going to get around that. Like you can talk about it if you want to vent and you have frustrations, like that's totally normal. You're a human being. You're allowed to feel those things. But at the end of the day, like to expect praise for doing the bare minimum is a totally different concept than what some people are doing in the areas that they take it, right? And so I say all that to say that the medicalization of grief and the suggestion that you should just take medication to get over things, and then this idea of like parenting is like woe is me, and I need to find a way to offload my kid, or I need to find a way to turn off parenting or turn off grief. It misses the whole point of those experiences, because and somebody who has been through grief counseling and been through things for post-traumatic stress, right? And like the grief counseling is something is I've been through for two very different reasons, right? This is a process. Life is a process. The emotions you feel from the things you experience are a process. Like there's nothing about this as a phone or a computer. You're not going to turn it off, right? The only way out is through. Like however many, adages and metaphors I can make about this, like 110%, this is exactly what you are supposed to do. And it's a wholly modern concept to think that you're going to turn something off because you can take a pill, or you're turning off responsibility because maybe like to use your example earlier about abortion, or you can turn it off because you're offloading your child by handing them a screen, or you're taking them someplace to go do something else for yourself. And that happens. Like it's fine to like get a babysitter and go do things for yourself. That's not what I'm saying. But like people that take advantage of that and pawn their child off on other people, like there are people that exist and that do that, right? Like there is this modern concept of basically just turning off responsibility, and like it's 2026. That's what we should be living for, and why we should be doing these things. It's like you are completely missing the entire point of life. If you can't turn off grief, you can't turn off, the anxiety you have. There's things that you can do to work through those things, and it's totally fine to get help, and you should get help. But guess what? That person who's giving you professional help is going to make you do, and I can tell you 100% because I've lived it. They are going to make you relive some of the most horrible horrible things that you've seen and experienced in your life, and they're going to ask you to describe them in such great detail that it's going to make you have such a visceral reaction that you're going to go through the experience again in your brain. And that's how you get better. And like, that's just what life is. You want to be strong, you're going to work out. You have to go through that. And that's a process that requires you denying yourself and discipline and commitment and a total sacrifice of things that you, and really maybe a sacrifice of a way of life that's old to you now and is going to wind up being foreign, right? You want to get better, and learn things about the world and understand. You go have these experiences, you go join the military to do these things, you make friends, you go through these processes, you read books, all of these things. There is literally no shortcut for any of that and no substitute for living life. And at the end of the day, anything that you want to do to make yourself better requires the sacrifice of ego, the sacrifice of the things that you may have wanted to do, knowing that you're replacing them for the things that you need to do, and denying yourself some of these simple pleasures, and learning to appreciate the fact that doing the difficult things can be pleasurable, because at the end of the day, the reward is not the goal. The reward is the work that you're doing and the privilege that you're afforded to be able to do that work, and suffering well through it, and knowing that suffering is a privilege. Like, that is 100% the point of all of this and this process you're going through in life. Like, you cannot get out of it without that. And if you carry on your life that way, like so many people do, and online you see, there's this community we all live in online constantly all day. It's a form of nihilism to sit here and think that nothing matters so much that you just think that there's a shortcut for all of it, and that everything that you can do is to find an excuse to not participate in that, is missing the whole point. Somebody's saying that there's no point to life, and I'm going to live my life according to this because nothing matters. Like, at the end of the day, you're denying the greatest thing that you have been handed to you, and that's your life. And there's a Stoic quote. I want to say it's Seneca, but it's like, one of the greatest tragedies of life is for a man to never see the greatness that his body can become, right? It's like this, that's exactly what this is. You are afforded every single day an opportunity to be fucking great, whatever that is for you. And if you're just wasting that on stupid crap, eating all day or watching TV or not doing anything to better yourselves, like, it just, you're missing out on what the whole point of life is, And like, to me, like, this concept of denying yourself is something that I've been working through a lot recently. And how many times have you felt sorry for yourselves, right? How many times have you felt sorry for yourself about something that you're going through, and you realize, like, this has nothing to do with me. This is just my hurt feelings, my ego, my id, whatever it is that I am dealing with on a very immature base level, right? That the concept of feeling sorry for yourself too is now like rewarded. The victimhood mentality of this is rewarded. Like, deny yourself and tell yourself you're not a victim, like, at all. It's just, there's so many things that modern society could be remedied by if people adopted this concept of, it's not all about you, deny yourself, go through these processes that life is handing you. You're challenged every single day. You can't get away from it. You're going to die, but you better fucking live. It's the point here,
I believe it's a poem by Tennyson, and you guys can fact check me on this. And the only reason I know it is admittedly because of G.I. Jane, but the SEAL instructor in there,
Classic.
Yeah, Viggo Mortensen, by the way, he quotes the poem in the movie, and I believe the first lines of it go, I never saw a wild thing feel sorry for itself.
Mm-hmm.
A bird will fall frozen from a bough, never once having felt sorry for itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that, yeah, like to your point about that, and there's the hubris goes into it, and I mean, culture is pushing this on people too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't
exactly.
I mean, yes, I do blame people, because at a certain point, take responsibility for yourself. But I understand that the entire machine right now is designed to trap you in these thought cycles, that it's all about me, right? The entire social media algorithm is designed to keep your eyes on the screen as long as possible. Don't get up, don't walk away, don't do anything else, just scroll, just consume product, and then get excited about consuming next product. Yeah, exactly. And I understand that the world's designed this way right now, but to your point, if we're to attack the core of the issue, these are the types of things that we have to start looking inside and realizing. And And I think the most poignant point that you've made is it starts with, it's not about me. Mm-hmm. And I think once you can get to that and really feel that way, not just the lip service, like, oh, it's not about me, but like truly understand that it's not about you, then you can start bringing value to the world.
No civilization or society would have ever come about if people didn't realize that it wasn't just about them. Mm-hmm. Right. I don't remember. There's an anthropologist. I don't remember her name, but essentially through the discovery of some hominid, I want to say it could have been a Homo sapien. But she essentially found that person at one point had a broken leg. And she also saw that leg had been healed. And she made this quote essentially that, when you talk about, well, what's the first evidence of civilization? Well, that, it's finding tools, it's finding pottery, medicine. At least in medicine, right? Well, it's not medicine. The point is that a society that values other people and values the society and values the strength in numbers and, the idea of it's not about you, takes the time to let somebody exist that can in that moment either provide no or minimal value, and they take care of them because they're able to, and they made the decision to. That's the sign of society. That's the sign of civilization. And, so no society or civilization would have ever existed if everybody was selfish, and it's sort of why this concept of like identitarianism and the identity politics is the antithesis of individualism, right? Individualism is this idea that you have inherent traits about you that make you who you are, but it doesn't define you, per se, in a way that you are now some sort of, stuck in some sort of box, the way that they want you to think you are. The concept of a civilization is taking everybody's individual traits and using them to their mutual advantage, right? And that comes with acknowledging that to be a part of a team and any sort of successful team, you have to be able to set aside what your ego is. You have to be able to set aside and acknowledge that you have weaknesses, and you have to stop feeling sorry for yourself, and you have to accept that somebody may be better at you than you at doing something, and you have to deal with the reality that whatever jealousy maybe that you have about that you have to overcome that if you want to remain a part of the team. So there's also an accountability piece in here that exists, to treat you in that way, so you stick with that group. So like all of these things we're talking about, they're not just like this antidote to all the modern crap. Like this is quite literally how civilization came about, is that people at some point decided that they were going to set differences aside and set egos aside and create something greater than themselves, and be able to afford the time to sit here and let somebody heal and take care of them and have some sort of civilization. That's that marker of civilization, and what that is a healed leg.
Yeah.
So Cabby the Floor says, hone your perception where it pertains to people in general. It's more important now than ever to read people and their intent, and anytime you may have to deal with good or bad. For sure. Yeah, read people. Read books too. You should certainly read books. There's a lot of good stuff. I find that if you feel like you're struggling with something, then more often than not, there's a book about it, and it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a self-help book either. So trying to find some good comments.
Not everything is prescriptive. Sometimes it's what's not to do. You can gain knowledge from everybody, but sometimes it's how not to be.
Absolutely. Some of the best lessons I've had are how not to behave. 520 homegirl, appreciate the compliments to both Chris and I. That's very
thank you.
Very kind of you. Yeah.
Hit the follow button if you're enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got Phyllis.
You find value here.
That's right. Well, you want to open the phone lines?
It is just about that time, but before we get there, I think we have a no-knock breakdown get to. Right. And before we do, we're going to have to say goodbye to the one YouTube bro. Oh, he just left anyway. That's fine. But anyway, before we sign off with you guys on YouTube, we'll come back up for just a little bit of air. And this is my parting gift to you, baby birds. Let's see what we've got in here. Here you go. Why wouldn't we end with just a little bit of mild racism? Brandon, you know that learning English is hard, right?
I do.
Conspicuous. That wasn't quite right.
That wasn't quite right.
Conspicuous. Conspicuous.
That's amazing, dude.
I don't even.
I want to know: are those real?
I don't even think she's trying. Like, come on.
I know. I don't know. I've never had to speak with a Chinese accent. You know.
It's funnier the first time.
It was true. Yeah. What the fuck?
All right.
Just a Vietnamese one.
Anyway, that's what we got for you guys. Hey, if you do come by this on YouTube, I don't know how you will. It's a jungle out there, and Brandon and I are forever hidden in the weeds. But if you come by and see this, and you want to continue with the I Came with Fire content, then head on over to Rumble, because that's where we're going to be hanging out for the rest of the night with the No Knock Breakdown. YouTube doesn't like us to get into, telling you real truth about real things that really happened. They're kind of commies like that. But anyway, farewell, YouTube bros. Go with God. Don't be a dick.